Massive flops, a drop in quality, unsustainable development costs, price increases. Like, there's a lot of things I could say about this industry that we can all agree just make you want to tear your hair out. And you've seen all the videos out there saying that AAA is getting worse and it feels like we're heading for another video game crash. And yeah, when you're as plugged into gaming as I am, that's kind of what it feels like at times. It's no secret that the big boys are having a lot of trouble right now, and we as the players are getting less in return. Couple that with certain companies starting the push for $80 games, and it's not hard to feel like we're gonna be in for a rough time in the years to come. But that's not what we're here to talk about. While it's true that AAA seems to be getting worse, what's seemingly getting lost is that over the past 2 years now, we have seen a ridiculous rise in the quality of AA and indie games. And I don't just mean games that get high critic scores and then nobody talks about again. I mean games that might as well be AAA. That's how good they are. And games that are legitimate financial successes. All doing it while avoiding many of the problems that have been plaguing the AAA space, essentially posing the question, what's your excuse? There have been so many of these games that I've played lately that I cannot help but think, despite all the issues that have been going on with the industry and all the potential problems, I truly believe that gaming is gonna be fine. But why specifically do I think that? And what, if anything, can the industry learn from what's been happening? Well, sit down everyone, class is in session. So strap in boys and girls, and let's get down to business. So before we get to the good, we first have to establish the problem to put everything here into context. As you know, the industry has been plagued by problems when it comes to corporate mismanagement, unsustainable development costs, massive flops, layoffs, you get it. You've seen all the videos out there. I got nothing more to contribute to that conversation. That's already been spoken about. But why people have started recently talking about a potential crash, and what was the first step in prompting me to make this video, is the recent price increases, specifically for games. $80 games. What the fuck? A few weeks ago, Nintendo and Xbox became the first to announce that select games will be priced at $80. Yeah, good old Mario is sending Boo to steal your star, you scummy money-hungry company. And it's only a matter of time before other studios follow suit. I'm telling you right now, if you don't think this is going to have a negative impact, you haven't been paying attention. The reason why this is a problem is because the more you raise your price, the more customers you scare away. Simple economics, right? Well, then you take into account that the fact that the world economy is still recovering, there's not a lot of disposable income right now, especially in the US, on top of the fact that games just went from $60 to $70 a few years ago. So this jump is a punch to the gut for most people. $20 more, and that's $100. You know who has that perspective? Consumers. I saw this market research report last week done by this group Epilion, and in it they showed that the share of population in the US that plays video games is down from pre-COVID levels, but the average hours played is up, while monthly spending has flatlined. So less people buying games, but the ones who are playing for longer, not increasing their spending. This tells me that a lot less gamers are buying new games and they're focusing more on their backlogs. Wait, what's that? PC gamers spend 92% of their time on older games? Holy shit, I'm right. And you know, there's a couple factors given in the report, like increased social media use, pandemic gains leveling out, the market essentially peaking, but nobody mentions the rising cost of games. If the amount of gamers is less than pre-COVID levels, and the ones who are here are spending most of their times on old games, oh, and growth has decreased by 13% since 2021. Does anybody remember what happened in 2021? I mean, I'm just some guy on the internet, but I know smoke when I see it. Gaming didn't get less interesting, it got more expensive, both for developers and us. And so you see people giving up gaming to focus on other things. And that's at $70. If you raise that to $80 after you just raised it to $70 in this economy, you better clench your assholes.
Want to know a secret? I have no idea what I'm doing. And I don't think anyone else does either.
There are some guys that could get away with it. Could. Namely, Nintendo and Rockstar, which is why those bastards did it in the first place. But if you're someone like Ubisoft, you're not getting away with this. Bethesda? Hell no. Even guys like Capcom, I don't think we'll be able to avoid this damage if they do that, especially after your last two games. What in the goddamn hell was that PC port, Monster Hunter? You want to ensure your casual player base is halved? This is how you do it. And you know who knows that? EA.
What?
Yes. The original scummy money hungry company said recently that they will not raise their games to $80. As of right now, trusting EA is like trusting a bear trap won't go off if you stick your hand in it. But the guys who had a microtransaction controversy so big that Congress got involved is saying this. Now, do you think that's because these guys suddenly became pro-consumer after all these years? Or is it because the majority of their money comes from sports games, which are only played by casual players, and they know that once they raise that price, those guys are going away? Yeah, they could spend that much in Ultimate Team anyway, but it doesn't have the same sticker shock that this would. 7 years ago, that would have been the price of the deluxe edition of Madden. They already had problems with FC 25 not meeting expectations. You think they want to add this to the mix? But I expect a lot of AAA companies to take this price increase, and I do think it will go bad for them. Yeah, I kind of lied in the title. Not all of gaming is going to be fine. The ones who take this increase, apart from a select few, are gonna suffer. Now, this sounds like a lot of woo, but I wasn't fully lying in the title, because there will also be some wee, and that is a gigantic hole that is gonna be ready to be filled. And once it's filled, you'll start to realize those little guys aren't so little anymore. We have been seeing an unprecedented rise in the quality of AA and indie games over the last 2 years. Baldur's Gate 3, Helldivers 2, Space Marine 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Split Fiction, Expedition 33. These are games from smaller teams and smaller budgets than the big boys, but are managing to consistently outperform them in every aspect when it comes to quality. These may be AA games, but they feel like AAA in every aspect, better than bigger games released today. They look better graphically, have more interesting mechanics, they're more fun to play, they have better stories, better writing. 3 of those games I mentioned are legitimately some of the greatest games I've ever played. Baldur's Gate 3 literally got other developers to worry that it may set unrealistic expectations for games going forward. And then every one of these games have come out and consistently taken turns pieing that argument in the face, with KCD2 being the one that, in my opinion, put it out of its misery. I've said in the past that certain games were wake-up calls for the industry, namely for Baldur's Gate 3 and Helldivers 2 if we're sticking to these type of games that I'm mentioning right now, but any one of these other games can easily be classified as wake-up calls, and examples of AAA being absolutely embarrassed, especially recently with KCD2 and Expedition 33, and then you include the debut titles from the East, Liza P, Pal World, Stellar Blade, and Black Myth Wukong, which was my game of the year last year, and you're starting to see a complete takeover in what gamers consider the best games on the market. And the best part about this is now these games are also competing and succeeding financially. How many copies sold banners have you seen on Twitter from these guys? Like almost every week. None of that X amount of players bullshit that nobody can verify. Oh, hi, AC Shadows. It seems like every one of these games is finding massive success. Look at that Black Myth number. And then you look at the indie scene with games like Balatro, Blueprints, Repo, Schedule 1. These are not your indies from back in the day where it was like, oh, this little pixel game is so good. I had so much fun. What a cute little game. Yeah, what time we getting on Black Ops? These are games that are demanding your time and respect. Everybody and their mother had their lives taken over by Balatro last year. My friend still plays it on his phone. Hey, get back to work, Riley. You look at peak player count numbers on Steam for Repo and Schedule 1, and they were larger than a lot of big games this year, and they also sold incredibly well for games of their size. I mean, Schedule 1 is a cozy game where you sell drugs, and it's sold 5 million copies up to this point, despite that bullshit lawsuit. You know how crazy that is? That should be a game you see on Steam for like $2 most years, but that's how captivating it was to players. Still gotta play it though. Cozy games really aren't my style. That's why it's taking me so long to get it. Get over that! And in the case of Blueprints, even though it's reportedly not selling as well, the people who are playing it can't stop playing it, and critics absolutely adore it. So you look at all these games between AA and indie and how every single one of them is being received, it seems like a constant flow of incredible games. It's gotten to the point where these guys aren't just eating AAA's lunch, they're cleaning out their cabinets and then having sex with their mom right in front of them. And it's not gonna stop either. Have you seen that game Hell Is Us coming out later this year? That looks great. Tides of Annihilation? That looks like it's gonna be awesome. Shadowheart is also in that one. Dude, you want a good game? Just hire Jennifer English to voice someone. I mean, she's a good luck charm at this point. It's not gonna stop because these games now have a bigger platform than ever to get their game out there, and the tools they have now put them on the same level as the big boys. So the big question that has to be asked is, how is this happening? How are these smaller teams making better games with less resources? Well, let's compare them with AAA. Like I said in the beginning, AAA budgets for game development have gotten ridiculously high. You look at games costing $200 to $300 million, $400 in the case of Concord. Jesus Christ! There's a reason why people across the industry have said that this type of spending is unsustainable. But the common thought until recently has been, well, this is the state of gaming, that this is how it has to be. But then you look at the budgets for these smaller games, and you see these things made for 40 million, 50 million, 100 million in the case of Baldur's Gate 3, which is still a lot of money, but nowhere near these other massive budgets. And then when you see that these games are better, it's hard not to look at these crazy numbers and think that a lot of this is just irresponsible spending, if not just outright money laundering at times. Instead of being happy with a few million copies sold, now you need to sell gangbusters just to break even. And then you wonder why the monetization on some of these games are bad, because base game sales are not enough for them. But these smaller studios don't have to worry about selling crazy numbers because they scope their games properly and know where to put their funding, so when they sell a few million, that's considered a massive success. They're not devoting a ton of resources to make the game look as realistic as they can, with pores and peach fuzz on characters' faces and dew on grass and other meaningless shit like that. Unreal Engine 5 looks like it's working wonders right now for these teams, so the work looks like it's halfway completed by the time you start polishing these things out. Take two games right now. Spider-Man 2, made with a budget of $300 million, and Black Myth Wukong, with a budget of $40 million. Now, I know other things went into Spider-Man, like the seamless transitions and no load times, but when I look at Wukong, I think it blows it out of the water when it comes to presentation, and it was made for so much less. Hell, you might think these bigger players don't know how these small guys do it, but they do. They do already know. Case in point, Ghost of Tsushima. That's a AAA game under PlayStation. In my opinion, the best PlayStation game that's been put out in the last decade. One of the most beautiful and immersive games I've ever played. $60 million. So it's not foreign to you. What the hell is happening here? And most of these smaller games focus more on art style and immersion anyway. Helldivers, Space Marine, Expedition 33. Look at this battle happening in front of me and I shiz in my pants. Now, this type of budgeting doesn't always mean you're gonna get better games. A perfect example of this is Obsidian. These guys are known for acting like a AA studio. Whether or not you actually classify them as one is up to you. They have taken on low budget projects for their last few games, but the problem is when they scope their games, they either make games that they're not known for, that nobody asked for, or they sacrifice quality for it. Just look at what they did with Avowed. In an effort to be more sustainable, they end up making their games more forgettable. It's less properly scoping and more cutting back on costs. These other guys aren't sacrificing fun factor when they do this. In fact, they're the most fun games you can play right now. The other problem is that a lot of these bigger players have even bigger problems with corporate mismanagement. Whether it's executives not knowing their ass from their elbow, or developers having to go through every hoop on the planet to try and get something approved. Do I even need to pull up Jason Schreier's Anthem expose? Like, when you get to a point as a studio where all of your workers are constantly on YouTube because they're waiting for a directive from management, you know something is wrong. By the way, how's Beyond Good and Evil 2 coming along, Ubisoft?
You've been at this for far too long, with far too little success.
Or the higher-ups are forcing the developers to make games that they don't want to, aka almost every live service game failed over the last 5 years. You look at those and every Ubisoft game released in the last 5 years, and you could just feel the developers' talent is being wasted because they all feel soulless. Games made to meet a quota. It never feels like the developers want to make these games, more like they're forced to, and sometimes they don't even know how to make it. Oh, Arcane Austin, you guys made Dishonored. Well, here's Redfall, have fun!
It can be done exactly how I want it. The only question is, are you the man to do it? Figure it out.
But with AA, and especially indie, they always feel like they make their games with a clear vision, and that shows up in the final product. There hasn't been a single one of these games I've played recently that doesn't feel like the devs were all on the same page and had fun coming up with these ideas. They're filled with so much passion that you actually start rooting for them to succeed, which is where power of word of mouth comes into play. AA and indie don't need massive marketing budgets because they know if they make a great game, they're going to have players talking about it and telling their friends to play it. Case in point, Expedition 33. Look at the player count numbers on Steam for launch, around 52,000, then it slowly rises to 71,000, and then eventually reaches its peak of 145,000 concurrent players. That is word of mouth. That is people hearing that it is one of the greatest games ever made, and then they play it, and then they tell other people to play it, and then they actually start rooting for Sandfall Interactive because this 30-person team gave them something that their supposed heroes couldn't, and then it snowballs into massive success for them. Well-deserved success. I just made a video on it. It's phenomenal. I love it. Play the game. Do it. And these guys don't have to worry about publisher influence and demands. This one shocked me. In an interview with Hazelight CEO Joseph Ferris, the f***ing boy,
we fuck shit up without fucking up.
He said that while making Split Fiction, EA never even touched them. Mostly because they're not actually owned by EA, they're more like partners. But even still, that's wild to me. But then you have the other side of mismanagement, where everything developers want to add has to go through every single department for approval, and who knows how long that can take. This has famously been the core development problem with places like Bethesda, you know, along with ignoring criticism and the creation engine being old enough to apply for AARP, where every single decision has to go through Todd Howard, who wasn't always at the studio on certain days, which made things go so much slower. And I think the quality of Starfield speaks to how that turned out. Stuff like this just isn't necessary, and it leads to a lot of wasted time and resources, and it makes you wonder if these massive teams even need to be this big in the first place, which leads to the conversation of layoffs, and that's a whole nother can of worms. But these smaller studios don't operate like that. They seem like places that foster creativity through freedom. I will hereby prove it. If these guys had to go through various levels of management and approval, would you be able to f*** a bear in Baldur's Gate? That's not getting past the first level of management. If they had this structure, would you have the part in KCD2 where you search for a dead body in literal shit?
Oh, God. It's hairy. It's still warm.
Or would Brenda and HR say, we can't have that in here because it could be seen as a form of hazing and it looks very humiliating to some of our fans. If this structure was in place, would you be able to play volleyball in Expedition 33 with baby gestrels as the balls? Oh, we can't have that. That's depicting a form of child abuse, and we would lose a lot of money and get a ton of blowback on Twitter from our our fans if we put that in. They're art mannequins, Brenda. AA doesn't have to worry about higher-ups breathing down their necks, so they could do whatever they want with their games. And you know what? Sometimes that can make for some viral moments, controversial moments. You've never seen a safe game go viral, and these guys know that. Which leads me to the ultimate kicker of this entire situation. You know those price increases that AAA has? How they raised it to 70 and most are starting to raise it to 80? And apparently that's the norm now? Not with these guys. Most of these games are priced at $60. Now that's not charity, that's not them being nice, that just used to be the standard price for video games because these guys are not well known as some other big AAA developers, and in their eyes, they haven't earned your loyalty yet, so why should they pay top dollar for your game when they don't even know what you are? But then, there's the games that are sold for $50, $40, $30, $20. Those last two are more indie, but Expedition 33 and Helldivers 2 being $50 and $40 and selling extremely well shows that this competitive pricing works wonders and gets your game in front of more people and then lets word of mouth take it from there. This is not just a pricing strategy, it's a gesture of goodwill, and that's how players see it. And with so many anti-consumer practices in the industry today, you bet your ass players are going to latch onto that, especially if the games are all-timers. And it doesn't look like it's impacted how much of their budget they're making back. You look at KCD2 and they made their budget back in the first day. The only small game that I mentioned in this video that was $70 was Stellar Blade. Everything else was less. So this type of practice does work. The bigger boys just don't want to do it because it looks bad for the higher ups. So now that million-dollar question. ZD, how is gaming gonna be fine? Well, if we're talking literally, I mean gamers. Like, we're gonna be fine. We have a ton of great content to choose from, but you might see some downward trends overall if you're looking at a fancy industry graph. But if we look big picture, when you take everything here into account, then the way I see things, it goes a little something like this. A lot of AAA studios will implement that $80 price increase for games, and I do believe when they do, they are going to suffer, especially with the type of quality that's been put out recently. Maybe a handful will do fine, but overall, not good. Meanwhile, AA and indie will keep making great games, garnering more and more fans, while keeping their competitive pricing strategy, and because gamers will be more stingy with their spending, they need somebody who's gonna meet them in the middle. Turns out, there are many people who will not only meet them in the middle, but provide them with a better experience than the more expensive games. As this goes on, AAA is gonna struggle while the smaller guys rise up. Eventually, it's gonna get to a point where the big studios have no choice but to take a look at what's happening with these games and ask, okay, what are they doing that we're not? How do these games look and play the way they do for only $40 million and dominate discourse and get so much love while we're dropping an entire bank on our game and it's barely making a profit and people are forgetting about it as soon as they finish? You know all those problems we've been seemingly hearing about internally among our teams? Maybe we should start listening? Maybe we should try and change some things? Whatever reevaluation entails for these guys, there will be some changes made, because it's easy to brush an incredible game off as an anomaly, even 2 games as an anomaly. But when there's this many high quality and masterpiece games coming from these smaller studios, all succeeding financially and getting players to drool over them while you're struggling to break even, eventually you gotta realize you're doing something wrong. And hey, should we even be pricing our games this high? And I know what you'll say, ZD, you think that big corporations are gonna lower prices on their products? That'll be the day, right? And it's true, once big companies raise their prices, very rarely will they lower them. Until it hits their bank accounts. If there's anything that companies hate, it's losing money and getting embarrassed. And if it's proven that raising prices to $80 is actually hurting us and making our fans leave, we have no choice but to lower it. No matter how many microtransactions you may add to try and compensate, it's not gonna work because you won't even have the players to anchor you. Maybe this is all a pipe dream, maybe this alternative happens and people buy the games anyway and we eventually work our way to $90. Please God intervene for us if that happens. But in this economy, I don't think players are going to sit down and take it anymore, especially if they're not as heavily invested in games as someone like you and me. And I haven't even brought up piracy. I'm not saying we're headed for a golden age, but I do think that we're going to avoid a crash. And I have a feeling we're going to come out of this even better than before. And that is why gaming is going to be fine. So, that's all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe take some stuff away from this, or hey, maybe you didn't. That's fine too. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!
Jesus.
I see all your faces of all your ancestors. I see you all here. We're together.
Do you think North Korea is laughing at us right now? No, they're probably trying to give us advice. Donald, here, no, pick up the phone, Donald. I know what to do. I know what to do, Donald. I can help you. And oh yeah, they did have. We'll wait and see how this evolves. But they did interview the mayor of L.A. and she went on basically a damage control to justify why this is normal.
Let's go live now to Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Hi, Mayor.
Good job.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Great job.
Hi. So what are
for having
you
me
and
on.
your police force? I know how busy you are preparing for the hours ahead. What are you expecting on that front?
Well, I just have to say that if you dial back time and go to Friday, if immigration raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on last night. I will tell you.
What a great concept. We're not going to riot if you just don't enforce the law. Yeah, you know, if you don't want any problems, you can't make us do your laws. Great. What a really good way to look at it. Yeah, we're going to riot and destroy things if you make us follow the law.
That it is peaceful now, but we do not know where and when the next raids will be. That is the concern, because people in the city have a rapid response network. If they see ICE, they go out and they protest. And so it's just a recipe for pandemonium that is completely unnecessary. Nothing was happening here. Los Angeles was peaceful before Friday.
This is the first time that there's ever been a riot in LA, if you guys didn't know this. And before Trump was the president, there weren't any problems in LA at all. Trump comes in, he just fucks everything up.
When we find out when and where the other raids are going to happen, that will determine how the police respond.
Mayor Bassett's Wolf Blitzer here in the Situation Room as well. The state of California, as you well know, is expected to file a formal lawsuit over President Trump's deployment of the National Guard, perhaps as early as today. Your own police chief says the level of violence he's seeing in Los Angeles is, quote, disgusting. So why not welcome
so even your own police chief is roaching out on you?
More boots on the ground.
Well, no, I think the issue here is state power and state sovereignty. And so we do not believe, and what the governor is doing is separate from what's happening in the city. But what was the reason that the president had to take the power from the governor and federalize the National Guard?
Because he wasn't enforcing the law. Like, what a ridiculous question. I think everybody knows the answer to this. Because he wasn't enforcing the law, and he actively said that he wasn't going to. That's how it works. Like, you want to talk about states' rights, go ahead. But last time I checked, the federal government won the Civil War.
The night before this action was taken, there was a protest that got a little unruly. Late at night, it was
a little unruly late at night. Bro, they were lighting cars on fire. This shit was a PvP server. What are you talking about?
100 people. 27 people were arrested. There wasn't a reason for this. That is.
So let me get this straight. Because you didn't arrest a lot of people, it wasn't a problem? Oh my God, where do these people come from?
The concern. And if there was, the way it happens traditionally is that requests are made on the local level of the governor to send National Guard troops.
Sure.
No request came from the city of Los Angeles. What has happened now is an entirely different situation.
The city of Los Angeles, they act like they're like an independent country. Like we're going and doing this. And keep in mind, where are they? Where are the American flags? Do you guys see a single one? Nope. That's right. That's because this is America.
You know, and speaking of now, there are also, what, about 500 active duty U.S. Marines over at Camp Pendleton, not too far away, awaiting possible orders to mobilize. Governor Newsom has said.
For what? What do you mean for what? To keep these people from burning down your city. Again. For the, 30th time.
Let me just point out, Mayor, Governor Newsom has said that President Trump is, quote, putting fuel on the fire. And you've called the deployment of National Guard troops to your city a chaotic escalation. Why is this an escalation?
Well, again, it's an escalation that didn't have to happen. Why were there...
they just had to not enforce the law, and it wouldn't have been a problem. Easy. It's simple. Yeah, they just had to do what we said, and then we wouldn't have let them burn down the city. Obviously.
You know, we had been told that he was going to go after violent criminals. It wasn't a drug den. It was a Home Depot. It was places where people are...
Trump ran on deporting all of the illegal aliens. He ran on deporting all of them. This is a total fucking bullshit comparison. He said this 50 fucking times. I am here. We're going to get rid of everybody. So, well, she's saying that he bait and switched them. He didn't bait and switch them. This is exactly what he said he would do.
Working. So what was the point of doing this? And then knowing that in a city like Los Angeles, and we had talked about this for a long time, that has a very sophisticated, long-term immigrant rights organizations and institutions, that if these random raids were going to happen, then there was going to be the danger of a backlash. And you add...
No, the thing is that, like, this is what I find is so funny about this, is that they think that, like, oh, well, there's a danger, we might just start causing a bunch of problems. No, that's not how this works. You don't get to decide this. You're part of the United States. Like, you have to follow federal law. It's so weird why this is happening. Trump caused this. I know he caused this. And that's why I think that he should use martial law to make sure it stops happening. Because the problem really is that, like, and you're right, if Trump had never removed any illegals from LA, nothing bad would have happened. But you understand what you're saying, right? You're saying, well, he can't do what he was elected to do, or these people are going to riot and burn down the city. And again, this is the law, right? Following the law. Like, there's a reason why he did that. There's a reason why he won.
On to that, the National Guard, and it felt like fuel for a fire that was unnecessary.
Given the point where it has escalated to, do you think the National Guard is needed now?
No, I don't think the National Guard is needed now.
Bro, the same frame. Shit is literally on fire. It's actually on fire. No, guys, this is fine.
Needed now. Things in LA are calm. I will tell you that I'm saddened by the extent of the vandalism in the form of graffiti all through the downtown area. But it is important for people to know that even in downtown...
I wonder, like, I mean, what about the guy indiscriminately breaking out windows in the LAPD headquarters with a skateboard? Like, how isn't this guy like, this isn't an ICE protester. This is just a retard. Like, why isn't he in jail?
This is isolated to a few streets. This is not citywide civil unrest taking place in Los Angeles. A few streets downtown, it looks horrible.
You just watched it being calm, Asma, but focus on the 10-second clips, not sensationalized? Well, it's calm now, and this is what happens, right, is that things start out fine, and also it's not entirely calm because these people are blocking traffic and they're blocking the roads. There's a form of power that they're using in order to do that. Like, I mean, people have the right to drive around and go around in the city, and if you shut down public transportation, and also, like, this is about yesterday, too. It's not even about today. So it's not sensationalized. It's just the reality. Everybody watched it happen. It's obvious what's going on.
People committed crimes.
Yeah, they're like throwing bricks at police officers. I mean,
absolutely unacceptable. And those people that set cars on fire or did other forms of vandalism will be sought to be arrested and prosecuted. This is not the way to promote a cause like immigrant rights.
All right, I want to play some sound.
It's not immigrant rights. And this is, see, they keep doing this. Have you guys noticed this? This is going to be the leading cause of xenophobia in America in probably, well, it probably already is, to be honest with you. But like, it's going to just keep getting worse. Is that the intentional and deliberate conflation of illegal and legal immigrants. Them doing this is extremely dangerous. And it puts a lot of like legal immigrants that actually have gone through the system or have come to the country through the proper channels. It puts them in the crosshairs of a bunch of angry people that are mad that they're being lied to. Asians are illegal too. I mean, I'm sure some of them are, right? I mean, but like, it's a matter of like what somebody is. Somebody could be white and illegal. That's not an issue. Yeah, and let's see here, immigrant and illegal is so different, and it's very dangerous, you're right. Yeah, and I think that this is the problem, and this is what I think is going to be the result of this. I think that people on social media are going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and you're going to have levels of protectionist, isolationist, xenophobic rhetoric that we haven't seen for years, like at least in our lifetimes, maybe since September 11th. But like that was only about like one group of people. I think in general, that's what's going to happen. And the reason why is that when people hear that all immigrants are like this, they're going to start using that language too. That's what they want. Well, I mean, they're going to get that. That's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you right now, like that's what it's going to be. And it all, as I said, it already did start happening with the H-1B visa thing, because that was a form of legal immigration, and people are still against that. And it's because of language like this that it's happened.
From Police Chief Jim McDonnell, let's listen.
This violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident. What we saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity.
So, you know, you had officers injured. We also heard...
Retards in chat love to fuck our First Amendment right to protest. Hate the history. You're not protesting by throwing bricks at people and breaking windows. Like, nobody is against protesting legally. But the problem is that the people are not doing that, and they actively don't want to do that. You need to understand that the goal of these protests is to terrorize people and to make them afraid of speaking out and pushing back against it. That's why, for example, you had like 20 people that like went and like collectively attacked and bullied that one woman who was disagreeing with them. They don't hate the police. They want to be the police. This entire premise that this is about free speech, it's absolutely not. And if it were up to them, you wouldn't be able to say anything. So this entire, like the content, like, don't fall for this bullshit. It's 100% what it is.
Police Chief McDonnell talk about officers being targeted with Molotov cocktails, fireworks, rocks, other projectiles. He has also said that, you know, he's overwhelmed by the number of protesters. What are you doing as mayor to make sure your police force has what it needs right now?
Well, first of all, I'm completely in sync with the police chief. And let me just add that some people might think because they don't get arrested right on the spot that they've gotten away with something. And the message that I would send...
Well, because usually they do. That's the reason why.
Is that there's tons of videotape, and people who didn't get arrested today for committing violent acts don't plan on the fact that you get off, because you can be...
I would plan on it.
Arrested in the next few days and next few weeks. So it is completely unacceptable, and those people that commit crimes will be arrested and prosecuted. I am completely in alignment with that. I know that when help is needed, that the police chief will call on that help, mutual aid from other cities or from the sheriff's department when that is needed, but I hope that it is not needed anymore. The rage should stop, especially on people's workplaces.
What do you mean? So they should just stop enforcing the federal law? This is the negotiation. Stop enforcing the law, or we're going to continue burning down the city. It's insane.
impact that that can have on our local economy. We are a city of immigrants. And I worry about the people who were detained on Friday, whose families still have not been able to reach out to them. The lawyers have not been able to go in and deal with their clients. This is unprecedented. This has not happened before. And so
surely that doesn't have anything to do with these massive riots and the civil unrest and all the police officers being preoccupied with all the burning cars. Surely that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Again, you want to talk about chaos? Well, this is what contributes to chaos. Policies.
Certainly, there are due process concerns, certainly. But back to what we just heard from the LAPD chief, you said that you're totally in sync with the police chief. He is saying that he's overwhelmed, that his forces are overwhelmed. What more do you need to hear from him to bring in more resources, to bring him the support that he is saying he needs?
Well, what I was saying is that the support he has called on, and he has received that support from the sheriff's department and from other police departments. And so I do not believe that he was describing a situation where we cannot bring it under control here. I think you should talk to him a little bit further. But what we are seeing, for example, there's nothing happening on our streets now. On Saturday,
I love the fact that they're interviewing her with this, and there's the footage of these people spraying pepper spray, and there's officers fighting back, and there's all this shit happening literally right next to her.
Saturday, when this decision was being contemplated, there was nothing happening on our streets. As I mentioned,
they're doing it on purpose.
There was a protest that got out of hand. It was a protest of 100 people. None of that warrants federal intervention, and that's my point.
Well, if it's a protest of 100 people, then why can't you just arrest them whenever they're committing crime? Like, if you've got 100, think about how problematic that would be. If you have 100 people trying to fuck stuff up, that would be awful. She just lied that the police was apparently not involved, but they were. Why are the police not doing their jobs and clearing the streets for the public to use them? Well, because the police listen to the government, and the government's telling them not to do that. That's the reason why.
Right, but you also acknowledge that you don't know if there's going to be other immigration raids in the city.
Right.
Of course
so,
not.
I mean, that raises the question, what are you doing to prepare for that potential scenario? There could be more violence ahead.
Well, you know what? It's a very difficult thing to plan. We have 88 cities in our county. The raids could take place anywhere. They don't have to take place in Los Angeles. For example, the unrest that you saw on Saturday was happening in an adjacent city. It wasn't.
See, it's always the language. Whether it's saying immigrant instead of illegal alien, or even illegal immigrant, not drawing any distinction, calling it unrest. It's always the language that these people use in order to lie.
Los Angeles, it was the city of Paramount. So it's very difficult to prepare for something when you have absolutely no idea when and where it's going to take place.
What you're saying is true about the Trump administration. They want you to fear speaking out against them. The way he's running the country and walking all over the Constitution is causing this. Last time I checked, I mean, like, deporting illegal aliens isn't against the Constitution. I'm pretty sure that's actually that's actually the law. Like, I mean, Trump is going too far by deporting illegal aliens. I don't think so.
You know, Mayor, the
I
Trump
don't know about
border
that.
czar, Tom Homan, has now walked back some comments suggesting that you or Governor Newsom, for that matter, could face arrest if you obstruct federal authorities. How do you respond to Homan, and do you have any concerns potentially about being arrested?
No, I'm not concerned about being arrested, and I can't imagine an opportunity. I can't imagine a situation where I am going to interfere with federal agents. So it was something that was inappropriate to say. And what I am going to focus on is bringing our city together. We cannot allow ourselves to be divided. We are an international city, the diaspora from just about every country in the world.
An international city, for sure.
Lives here. And so this is a time to stand together. And it's also a time to appeal to the administration. Please dial this back. This was not necessary. It has.
I think they need to dial it up. I think this is the problem, is that they let these people run wild. And what happens is that when these people feel like they're able to get like a small win, it emboldens them to keep going. And I think that really, like, I think that they just need to completely fucking like stomp this shit out. Like that's actually my opinion. Totally stomp this shit out. Like bring in the military, bring in the National Guard, fucking martial law, curfews, arrest all of these people, make the little camps where you can hold them in, do the entire fucking thing. And you can stop this very, very fast. And if anybody is throwing rocks or anything like that, I think use deadly force against them. Like if you're using rocks and you are using deadly force against police officers or the National Guard, I think they should be authorized to use deadly force back against you. Now, I don't support shooting anybody for a non-deadly reason, obviously. But if you're using deadly force and you're trying to actually hurt somebody, something needs to happen. Bro, wild take? That's not a wild take at all. These are citizens. These are people, these are real people that are wearing these outfits. You don't have the right to put their lives at risk by throwing deadly objects at them. You don't have the right to do that. That's just not how it works. Yeah, did that back in the right. You realize you're talking about starting a civil war, right? No, I don't think so at all. I think most people support this. I think they absolutely do.
Created a sense of fear.
Yeah, and this is the problem, is that this is the one-sided compassion that I think a lot of these people have, is that they have all this compassion for these illegal aliens, but they don't have any compassion for the police officers that get bricks thrown at them and get pepper sprayed and hit and hurt and yelled at and everything. And getting yelled doesn't really matter, but like, I mean, you have these people that are like enduring a lot of like physical damage and they're getting hurt, and there's no sympathy for them at all because these are acceptable targets. And so it's the dehumanization of a group of people based off of like, again, the fact that they're trying to uphold the law. That's what's happening here. No sympathy for Lake and Riley others? No. And this is the problem, is that there's no sympathy for any of the people that are negatively affected by this. There's only the sympathy for the people that are breaking the law and doing things that are wrong. Too big of a roundup would look like a Holocaust? Absolutely not. I mean, like, it's not like, there's like a few hundred people that are doing this. And if you did this, if you arrested like maybe, let's say like 200 people in a day, there probably would be less people out there the next day. Especially if you kept doing it day after day. Because eventually you're going to have, and especially if you charge these people with actual crimes, which I think that they are committing crimes. Because like at the very core of this, I don't want anybody to go to jail for something that they're not doing. But these people are actively breaking the law, and they're actively destroying property. They are, fucking like making the government and like the police not able to do their job. They're stealing things. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So I'm not saying to put people in jail for protesting. That's ridiculous. But whenever you're throwing bricks at police officers, you're breaking in and looting stores, you're setting things on fire, you are obstructing police from being able to do their job, you're standing in front of cars, you're throwing things at them in general, and you're standing in the street and blocking traffic, like these are all illegal things that you shouldn't be able to do. So I'm not advocating for any sort of crazy police state or jailing protesters. I'm advocating for the rule of law so people can live in a safe society, because I know what the result of this is going to be. And this is what's going to eventually happen. You're going to have more Kyle Rittenhouse situations where you're going to have people that are counter-protesters that are going to come out to these riots and start shooting them. That's what's going to happen. And so, and it's the same with driving through them with a car or something like that. And when that happens, then it's chaos. Then it's really, really bad. Because like now, like, what do you do after that? It's the escalation. Why aren't they there yet then? Well, because it just hasn't gotten that bad yet. I think that's the reason why. And so as soon as you start having that happen, and then you have both sides that are using violence against each other, you want to talk about a civil war, that's how to let a civil war start happening. Which, by the way, I don't think that we're anywhere near that. That's what's happening? Yeah, of course. Almost happened yesterday with that van. Yeah, and you're inventing clear black and white situation. Real life are not straightforward. I mean, you don't even use proper English. I mean, I don't think you even know what you're saying. It is black and white. There are no bricks of peace. Stealing and burning down, like there's never a time where burning down a car or burning a car that you don't own in a public space in the middle of the road is okay. It's never okay. And so that's the issue. The majority of people voted for this. And yes, and this is also, like, again, going back to what I said initially, this is something that people democratically voted for. And you can see a majority support, not even a plurality, but a majority support on these mass deportations. So these are people who are trying to, you know, like, again, they do not respect the results of the election. They don't care about that. They're pushing for this, even though people don't want that. What are states' rights? States have certain rights, but the majority of the rights and the ability to uphold federal law is mandatory. And also, if states want to have rights, the fact is also states have a lot of privileges that they get. They get a lot of privileges from the federal government. And without those privileges, many of these states would not exist. And I think that really none of them would. If any state broke off from the United States, it would immediately, like, ruin that state. It would turn into an awful country instantaneously because they don't exist in a vacuum. It's only democratic when we win. Yeah. What about Canada? I don't know about that. Someone said deportation is illegal. Brain dead liberals. Yeah, people are going crazy and thinking they're justified. They flopped hard for controlling the issue. I think it's National Guard left right now. I'm more of a states' rights person, but we already fought a civil war over this. Federal government supersedes all. It is what it is. Defying it, you'll end up like the Confederacy. Exactly. Right? Like, these people are literally advocating for another Confederacy. And again, like, I'm not advocating for anybody to go to jail for protesting, but when you're breaking the law, that's not protesting. And that's the big issue that these people have. It's not that they're against this issue. It's that they think that anything they do in service of pushing against this issue is justified.
It feels deliberate. It's like, how can I deliberately create chaos in a city? Nobody needs that right now.
Have the protests, Mayor, impacted police responses to other parts of your big city?
No, I do not believe that is the case. Again, I will re-emphasize that what you are watching is taking place on a few streets downtown. Obviously, it is terrible what you are looking at, but I don't want people to leave with the perception that the city of Los Angeles is experiencing citywide unrest. Nothing could be further from the truth.
I want to share the CBS poll. It shows 54% of Americans approve of the Trump administration's program to deport illegal immigrants. A minority, 46%, disapprove.
It's got to be bad if you're getting cooked by CNN over this. Even CNN is like, yeah, well, what about the fact that most people agree with this?
Are Democrats out of touch on this issue?
Yeah.
Well, I think if you did the polling in Los Angeles, I'm not sure it would be that way.
Okay, so I guess if everybody in a certain area wants to bring back slavery, it's okay to do that, right? What a stupid argument. What a stupid thing to say. This is embarrassing.
Considering we are a city of immigrants.
Yes, exactly. You go back to factory reset mode the moment that you hear something that is just completely indefensible.
And people might approve that policy, but do people really approve the federal government coming in and seizing power from a state and from a city? So,
yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Democrats have a supermajority in California. You're barking up the wrong tree. If Republicans had a supermajority in another southern state, do you think they should be able to bring back slavery? No? Oh, well, of course not, because that's totally different, right? Because this is something that optically looks bad. You don't actually believe what you're saying. You're only arguing in favor of this because it's something that's beneficial for your goal. The principle of what you're saying is that the state has the right to govern itself. You don't believe this. You don't believe this. And again, I can give you 10 different examples of things that are bad like this, too. The principle is that slavery is bad? Yes. Well, having illegal labor where they're not able to, they're being taken advantage of, they're not being paid the right way, and also it's against the law. It's literally against the federal law. It's that simple. Look how they play with words. Deport immigrants legally, which deport people is against the law. Yeah, I know. It's only fair if I benefit from it. Well, this is all I'm really saying, is that a lot of the people that make these arguments and try to bring this kind of stuff up, the moment that you turn this logic around on them, it immediately doesn't make sense. So, like, for example, if a country or a state wanted to get rid of abortion, like to make abortion totally illegal, we had Roe versus Wade for a very long time because of that. If a state wanted to allow child marriage, for example, the federal government would not allow that either, even if 95% of the people in that state wanted to be able to do that. So this entire premise and the idea of this is total bullshit. And this is the problem, right? Is that people make these arguments, but they make these arguments from an emotional perspective. And when they're approached from a logical perspective or an emotional perspective that they disagree with, the argument immediately doesn't make sense. And it's because it's a bad argument.
Well, I drilled down a little further on that poll because I do not believe that Americans support the federal intervention in a city takeover or a state takeover.
Right, and just to be clear, the poll talks about American sentiment as it pertains to illegal immigration, but it does say that the majority of Americans, we should note, disapprove of sort of some of the tactics that are being used, to your point, Mayor Bass. Thank you so much for joining the show. Let's turn to...
Surely. Yep. Yeah, definitely. And EU versus an I, or greater than an I? What's this?
Yes, I'm smart because I'm European, yeah.
So you think you're smarter than an American?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah? Alright, well, can you name a country for every letter in the alphabet?
Yeah, sure.
Like A.
Yeah, Argentina.
Okay, B.
Bulgaria.
C.
Cyprus. Denmark. Estonia. France.
He's smart. G.
Germany.
H.
Hungary.
I.
India.
J.
Japan.
K.
I think she's doing pretty well. I'm gonna be real. I think she's doing pretty fucking well.
Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah.
K. L.
Yeah, like Libya. Yeah.
Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Okay. M.
Madagascar. Nigeria.
O.
Oman.
P.
Portugal.
Q.
Qatar. Yeah.
R.
Damn.
Russia.
Bro, she's cooking.
Serbia.
T. Everyone in the comments, let me know something that starts with a T. U.
Uzbekistan. Yeah.
V.
Turkey.
Yeah, Venezuela.
X. There's no X actually.
Yeah.
Y.
No idea.
Yemen.
Yeah, okay.
Yemen. And Z.
Zimbabwe.
There you go. No, you're smart. You killed it.
That's impressive, bro. I'm gonna be real. Like, that's fucking impressive. I don't think I would have got that far. I'd probably do a better job of doing this in WoW than I would in the real world, man. This is right in front. This is in Western Plaguelands. This is in Hellfire Peninsula. This is in Netherstorm. This is in Silithus. It's in Kalimdor. You seen on X that trans people got mad at OnlyFans girls who acted like trans people? Yeah, I saw that. I did. It's a new meta. Unbelievable. World's on fire. Explain. So there were two girls that I guess like put, like they were actual like biological women, right? Not trans women, who acted like, I don't know, put something in like their panties to make it look like they had
an artifact weapon.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind.
No. I had to search this up, and I'm going to show you two now. So, these girls realized that by packing a maxed out artifact weapon, they could have started farming way more money. And of course, the other professional mythic raiders got really mad because these girls' artifact weapon was a fake one. Then things degenerated even more when one of the most successful raid leaders in the world called them out. We are talking about absolute gold passes here. Then more and more raiders, fully geared out, started trampling on these two poor aspirant raiders. Anyways, That's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Pete Hegseth has confirmed he's activated 700 Marines to take back the streets of LA immediately. We have an obligation to defend federal law enforcement officers, even if Gavin Newsom will not.
Hey, I don't know who need to hear this. I see a lot of people be talking shit about America. Hey, if you don't like America, go to another country, bitch. I love this country. I'll protect this bitch.
There it is.
Sending a message to the Trump administration that their immigration policy is bad. The absolute last thing that you should be doing is violence, because all that does is feed into the narrative. You need the National Guard and you need all this lawlessness, and that's something they don't think is true. So the way to disprove that is to show that there is law and order in the streets.
President Trump is deploying another 2,000 National Guard troops to LA.
If you're not planning to invoke the Insurrection Act, you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart.
Discipline nonviolent resistance. Violent protests are counterproductive. And then Hassan says, you were literally there at the nonviolent protests that everybody considered violent. So now he's against Bernie Sanders.
Completely blocked the federal building. This might
was like
be
hundreds of
easier,
years
because
ago,
somebody
too.
over here selling. How much are the flags going for?
They're $20.
$20. Are you doing a good business today?
Hey, that's not me, is it?
¿En cuánto están son $20?
It's, we're on working, and, you know, we need to make a little money, you know.
He's hustling, man. Yep, that's smart. You got to fish where the fish are.
Alright, you win. I'll roll over and show you my belly. I submit. My arm has been getting twisted by tons of people demanding that I speak about the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap. Apparently it sold out in seconds. It's taken the world by storm. As the utmost authority on both bathwater and soap, people are turning to my expert analysis here to weigh in on this subject. Obviously I have my own soap, Cheeky, which is far better than this horse hockey. Cheeky is the best soap in the universe that we've made, but don't just take my word for it. Go to usecheeky.com right now and get some soap for yourself to try it out. It'll change your life for the better. This topic isn't meant to just be a vessel to glaze Cheeky. It's just because I have that so many people keep emailing about this Sydney Sweeney stuff, so I had to mention it. It's become extremely clear that Sydney Sweeney has teamed up with these schmucks over there at Dr. Squatch just for this big marketing campaign here. Now, I think had she known about Cheeky, we're kind of new to the scene, but had she known about us, she would have been sprinting over here, bearing bathwater, begging to be part of the squad, part of the crew, part of the ship, and we would have embraced that with open arms. And I'm not here saying that we're shutting the door in her face, because I'm sure she's going to make the correct decision and be on the right side of soap history eventually. But for now, she's with Dr. Squatch for these soap bars, and she's kind of like the spokesperson for them at the moment. So anyway, this has clearly been a very successful marketing campaign with the whole Sydney Sweeney bathwater-infused soap bars. Allegedly, it uses some of her actual bathwater and sprinkles it into each bar, and it's medium grit, so the idea is you'll have like those little speckles in there that you'll wash yourself with or worship at your like fucking Hey Arnold bubblegum tribute to Sydney Sweeney in your closet or whatever. This is obviously heavily influenced, I'm going to use that word real loosey-goosey here, by one of the goats of gooning, Belle Delphine's stunts from back in 2019 when she sold her bathwater in jars. Now, Belle Delphine was a pioneer in the industry. If e-girls were athletes, then she's fucking Babe Ruth. She was the great Bambino. She wrote the book on how to hose gooners for their piggy banks. She is like the John Madden when it comes to these plays, and now Sydney Sweeney basically just ripped a page out of that book and tried to replicate that success, and succeeded at replicating it. The bathwater soap bars are apparently selling extremely well. So well, in fact, that there is a secondary market for it on eBay, as there always is for everything ever, from fucking people scalping Sydney Sweeney bathwater here, where they are reselling the soap bars for over $200 a piece. 200 clams for this bathwater soap. And not only that, there are people shamelessly selling pictures of it for $30. I'm just going to say this right now. If you are one of these pathetic souls that spends $30 buying a picture of Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap bar, you need to be institutionalized right now for your own good. You have got to go straight to Arkham Asylum. Holy shit, that would be the saddest existence on this planet if you go to eBay and spend 30 doubloons on a fucking picture of Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap. That is the lowest you can ever sink as a human being. Maybe you can honestly look at this as something inspirational. No matter how bad you feel about yourself or whatever you're going through, maybe your self-esteem's in the shitter, just know you are not as pitiful and worthless as the people that are going to spend $30 on a picture of Sydney Sweeney's bathwater soap bar. And that should uplift your spirits on the spot. Interestingly enough, Sydney Sweeney claims that this was actually her idea to use her actual bathwater in the soap bars. She said, "I think it's more fun to see everyone else talk about it. I pitched it. You kept asking about my bathwater after the Dr. Squatch ad, so we kept it." So she is claiming that this was her brainchild here with these soap bars, and I was a little disappointed to see that she didn't give credit to Belle Delphine. I feel like there is no way this is just a big old coinky-dink. I don't think that it's, just pure happenstance that she is also using bathwater for the soap. I feel like she must have at least heard about the Belle Delphine bathwater, because that has become ingrained in, internet culture as part of, the epitome of gooning. Like, when you reach terminal gooner, melted core DEFCON 1 goon status, that has always been propped up. I feel like she must have heard about that, or maybe someone at Dr. Squatch maybe even mentioned it in passing and she thought it was a cool idea. I just find it a little hard to believe that it had nothing to do with the path Belle Delphine blazed, the trailblaze that she made back in 2019. But I do think it is possible, because her ad, she was in a bathtub, so maybe she's like, oh, this would be kind of silly to take this bathwater and put it in the soap bars to market it to people that are desperately salivating over me. It's possible, but I do think it's unlikely. I want to briefly compare this bathwater soap to Belle Delphine's biological weapon from back in the day. So with the soap, I obviously don't have it on hand. I didn't purchase any, I didn't attempt to or anything like that, but just having soap that has bathwater apparently in it, they claim that it's there. There's of course no scientific way of proving that whatever bathwater presence there was actually graced by Sydney Sweeney's ass or anything like that, but taking them at their word, you're getting a bar of soap with that in it. So I'm assuming that it's going to still be functional as a bar of soap. Belle Delphine's bathwater was concentrated bathwater extract in a jar. So you couldn't really do anything with it besides just appreciate it for the safety hazard it was. I guess if you were brave enough, you could chug it, you could drink it and give yourself E. coli if you really wanted to. But once again, there was never any hard concrete way of proving that what you got shipped even back then was actually Belle Delphine's, pussy water, And you can't do that here either. Though I do remember from back in 2019, if I remember correctly, she had filmed herself bathing with the water and jarring it. I don't think the same was done here for the soap bars from Sydney Sweeney. I don't know if you get a certificate of authenticity with every bar, as well as proof where she has a video of her in lab goggles and a syringe extracting the bath water and then using it in the saponification process for the bar making. Couldn't tell you. All I know is that the products bear very similar DNA. Whereas Belle Delphine's was more expensive. You probably got more bang for your bathwater buck. In this case, you get like microscopic amounts of Sydney Sweeney's bathwater, allegedly. So, you know, I'm not here to try and sell you one way or the other on Belle Delphine's ancient bathwater brew versus, you know, the most recent one with Sydney Sweeney. I was just, you know, giving you my perspective as someone who's seen both of these unfold in real time. Something I found interesting, though, is just how closely history repeats itself. When Belle Delphine did this back in 2019, it was very controversial. It led to a huge conversation where everyone was, like, debating and, like, furious about the whole thing, like, getting mad. And now that Sydney Sweeney's doing it with the soap here, even more people are, like, upset about it, and it's apparently very controversial. Because now she's, like, an actual actress. She's like a full-blown celebrity, whereas Belle Delphine was more of like the e-girl celeb, so it's a little more niche. Sydney Sweeney opens this gooner degeneracy, you know, Pandora's box to a lot more people that were maybe previously unaware. So this has become even more controversial than the Belle Delphine bathwater, which I found really interesting, because I thought a lot of people would look at this and just kind of write it off as like, been there, done that, kind of lame, the novelty's worn off. I was very wrong with that assumption. That is not what's happened at all. It is once again blown up, like in a pretty big way. Like not to, you know, front page headlines or anything, but since she has so many fans as a full-blown A-list celebrity, a lot of people are like expressing disappointment in her for doing this and stooping so low, as opposed to just viewing it as like a lighthearted, silly thing or like a joke. I don't know, I just found that kind of interesting because I didn't expect it to be like a big deal for her. I highly doubt this does any damage to her brand or anything. I don't think she's going to lose roles over doing something like this, like a lot of people are claiming that she just threw away her whole reputation with this. I think that is severely exaggerated. I'm sure her career will be just fine after the bathwater soap. I just found it fascinating how this was once again a big deal. I didn't expect it to be. That's really about it. So yeah.
Making a game is hard. I've been working on my own game for 2 years now, and there have been so many aspects of this journey that have caught me by surprise and I just was not prepared for. And after thousands of hours of developing, playtesting, throwing stuff away, and iterating, I've come to find that while making a game of any kind in and of itself is hard, the real challenge is in making a fun game. So that's what this video is about. The specific challenges that I've run into that I just wasn't expecting when I started this journey, as well as all my makeshift solutions for overcoming these challenges and making this whole solo dev thing work out. And I'm happy to announce that in spite of all the challenges, today Blood Thief is in Steam Next Fest, the biggest indie festival of the year. And to celebrate, I've launched an updated demo with a new weapon and a secret level. I'll be dropping hints for finding the secret level throughout the video, so make sure you're paying attention. All right, let's go. Okay, so the Blood Thief demo launched back in February, and let me just say, holy crap, did that go better than expected. Like, oh my god, 70,000 players. Look, Ma, we got the 8th spot on speedrun.com, right next to Super Mario Odyssey. But after the hype wore off, I was left with the harsh reality of the situation. People now expected a finished game. And not just a finished game, but a good finished game. And this is the first big challenge I ran into. Content Mountain. So I have roughly 30 levels mapped out for Blood Thief, give or take a few depending on if things get cut or expanded on. The demo has 6 levels, so that's 24 left. Needless to say, I had my work cut out for me. So I did what I do best when I have a ton of work to do. I went in my cave and I locked in for like 3 months straight. So you might be thinking, 24 levels, that's not that many, just get it done, Blargus. Come on, I want my game and I want it now. But I think cranking out 24 high quality levels that are actually good and fun to play has just been so much more complicated than I was expecting, particularly for 2 reasons. And to try to explain the first reason, I'm gonna talk about doors. Behold, the door, a portal into unknown realms, the seed of all that is fun, and the unsung hero of so many video games. But before we can understand the door, we must first understand fun itself. And who better to give us this lesson than Gabe Newell in the Half-Life 25th anniversary doc.
And so we had to come up with some notion of what fun was. We knew it was an ad hoc definition, and it was the degrees to which the game recognizes and responded to the player's choices and actions. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me.
Okay, that escalated substantially in that last part there, but point taken, Gabe. The way I see it, doors are kind of a fundamental building block for achieving what Gabe Newell is talking about here. And as a result, I estimate I've placed 50 bazillion of them over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. Here's a simple door. You walk up to it, and it opens. Wonderful. But that is but the simplest use case. In some levels, I want doors to be locked, and you need a specific key to open it. In other levels, I want to open the door with a lever, or maybe by ringing a bell, or maybe by killing an enemy, or killing 10, or maybe just stepping in some specific area. Some doors need to open slow and dramatic. What if the player is going super fast? I don't want them to bonk their head on the door when they're flying by, so let's have the door detect how fast the player is going and move faster if the player is moving faster. Some doors are trapdoors. Some doors are walls. Some doors are paintings. Some doors are gonna be huge, but they can't just look huge. They need to sound huge too, because that doesn't sound right. That's better. So in Blood Thief, I had so many use cases for door-like things that I just made this single super entity that encompasses basically anything that moves. The VT Mover, the greatest door technology ever invented. The second greatest door technology ever invented. The VT Mover is the internal name for doors in Blood Thief, basically adapted from the mover example in the Funk Godot documentation. Anything can be a VT mover, not just a door. For example, I use it in this level to make a ceiling drop on your freaking face. In this part, a VT mover is a high-speed elevator. You can make them locked and unlocked by anything, like maybe you need a key, or you need to pull a lever, or maybe you need to clear a room of enemies. Also, movers can trigger other movers to move. Check out this little setup I made. I stand on this button, which is just a little baby VT mover that goes up and down. I connected it to this mover, which is a door in the traditional sense. I set it up so when I stand on the little button mover, it triggers the door mover. I then have this other mover right above me connected to a breakable rope. If I break the rope, it triggers the mover to go down, which triggers the button mover, which triggers the door mover, creating this portal-style pressure pad type puzzle. It's all just movers that trigger other movers. There's no actual physics going on here, just smoke and mirrors. Or should I say, smoke and movers. So I mainly brought this up to serve as an analogy for the hidden complexity that comes with implementing literally anything. I also just want to make a point that while it's actually relatively easy to make a level that is pretty to walk through, to paraphrase what Gabe Newell was talking about, making a world feel alive and interesting to explore requires interactivity and responding to the player's actions in a variety of interesting and surprising ways. And this just amplifies the complexity of making content so much. One thing I'm really excited about is that I'm now at the point where 100% of a Blood Thief level, including all the enemies, triggers, doors, elevators, event and trigger scripting, is all done in Trench Broom, which makes making a level way faster now. Also, what this means is that I can share my Trench Broom config with the community, and modders will effectively have the exact same set of tools that I have for making maps for Blood Thief. As a result, even with just the demo launch, there's already a little mapping community starting to form. I just can't wait to see where this goes. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that there are 2 reasons why this content mountain is so difficult to climb. And this second reason is one that I really don't feel like I see enough people talking about. Keeping gameplay feeling fresh. Every great game is constantly introducing variety, novelty, new things to learn, new places to explore. With Blood Thief, I want the player to genuinely be excited about starting up a new level because they have absolutely no idea what to expect. I think if the player isn't constantly learning new things, a game can start to get boring real quick. This is where the spider comes in. If you have arachnophobia, you might want to skip to this timestamp. Alright, last chance. Alright, so the goal with the spider was going to be to encourage the player to slide, which is objectively the more fun way to move around in Blood Thief because you move way faster and it takes a lot more skill to move with control and precision. First, the spider's movement speed is way faster than your base movement speed, so you cannot run away from them. They will catch up to you, and they will catch up to you quickly. Whereas sliding into the knights just knocks them down for a few seconds, sliding into spiders fully explodes them, both killing them and granting you blood to fuel your powerful attacks and movement. But problems started to arise when I started adding a whole bunch of these little guys to the scene at once. As someone who's not too fond of spiders in real life, I thought it'd be super satisfying to be able to slide through a massive clump of them using my feet as a freaking lawnmower. But My computer said no. The issue was that every time I killed a spider, it spawned this explosion effect. And if I killed like 10 spiders at once, this was just way too much happening at once and it would cause major frame drops. I ended up solving this by introducing a spawn queue system for these explosions, where instead of spawning an explosion directly, I instead request that an explosion be spawned soonish by adding that request to a queue. Then I have a piece of code that pops a few requests from the queue every tick and basically spreads this huge workload of explosions out over time. This might seem like it would cause visible delays in the VFX, but in practice it's completely unnoticeable as the game runs at 60 ticks per second and all the requests usually get processed in just a few ticks. So another dev told me that I should have a spider-free mode for people that have a phobia of spiders. So here's my extremely low effort solution to that. Look at these cuties. And yeah, I'm sorry for what I'm about to do. So like I said earlier, the goal with enemies is to introduce gameplay variety. One thing I noticed a lot of players doing is just spam air dash at every opportunity they got, and I don't blame them. Air dash is super powerful early game, so spamming it is a solid strategy. But this, of course, gets very boring very quickly, so I had to do something about it. This is where the armored knight comes in. I wanted to have an enemy where air dashing it was like more situational basically. The key difference with the armored knights would be that they would have more health than regular enemies, and if your air dash wasn't a killing blow, you'd actually bounce backwards, just destroying your forward momentum. My thinking was that bouncing you in the air could create some really dynamic combos, plus it would make it so people going for faster metal times would have to think a little bit more creatively to get rid of these guys more quickly. For example, by kicking them 300 style into a pit of lava, or by parrying an arrow back at them for extra damage. Having these guys as a chess piece for levels just made scenarios so much more interesting. Take this combat scenario. Without the armored knights, a viable strategy would be to just dash from guy to guy until all the enemies are gone. But add in some armored knights and now there's some interesting choices the player has to make. Do I quickly try to take out the archers first and isolate the armored guys? Or do I go for the crossbow so I can take out the armored knights from above? Maybe I try to go straight for them while they're close to this lava pit over here so I can kick them into the lava. Also, funny story, a long time ago I equipped the regular knights with a super intelligent 10,000 IQ AI where every frame they took into account your speed and calculated the exact moment they should swing their sword to ensure that their attack landed right before yours. This turned out to be way too hard for early game though, so I kind of just scrapped that AI and kept it in my back pocket, and I'm finally pulling it back out for these armored knights. So not only are they stronger, but you're also not going to be able to just run up to them and slap them like the regular knights. This did prove to still be kind of frustrating to deal with though, so I made it so you could parry their attacks as well, which is great because a lot of players mentioned that they wanted more use cases for parrying. This is just one example, by the way, of how the armored knights required so many little micro tweaks to start becoming fun. I'm still in the process of getting them right, by the way, so let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for fun ways that you could interact with them. This does, however, bring me to my next topic. Challenge number 2, endless knob turning. Let me tell you a story about this section right here. I liked it, but it was just not playtesting well at all. Nobody else liked it besides me. I spent a few days workshopping different ideas for it, trying all sorts of different things, but what I ultimately settled on was just moving these platforms down by 1 unit. Yes, that's right, moving these platforms down by 1 unit. And that change made all the difference. And now all of a sudden everyone liked it. And so in this instance it worked out great. But I can't help but have this nagging fear that this kind of change is lurking around the corner for every level that I make. And turning a level from a B+ level into an A+ level is just a matter of moving a platform down by 1 unit. And then relating to that, the progress towards making something fun has just not been linear for me at all. Remember how I said the armored knights were created to basically solve the problem of air dashes being overpowered? Well, I also solved this problem with like a few hours of work by creating this bubble shield that I can attach to enemies that makes it so you can't air dash them. This change was probably equally transformative as the armored knights, and in many ways has created even more awesome gameplay scenarios and was like a fraction of the work. It's possible I'm just inexperienced, but man, sometimes it feels like I'm literally just banging my head against the wall until something interesting comes out. So I want to go back to this example here, a true game dev success story. The truth is, this almost never happens. Usually the way it goes, at least for me, is that one playtester will think a change is amazing and tell me, please don't change it, it's perfect. And the next day I'll wake up to feedback from the next playtester saying, Blargus, you scum. It is so bad in every way. Please keep none of this. I think I've put myself in this weird situation where Blood Thief is different things to different people, and it's making the development process increasingly difficult. On the far end of the spectrum, we've got the ultra hardcore players. They want something that is super challenging, filled with intricate shortcuts and spots for infinite expression and creativity. Then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got your casual players, where if you only provide those intricate routes and shortcuts and you don't provide a simpler route, the level will just be far too overwhelming, and players like this tend to get lost and frustrated. Also, some players just like different stuff. Like, there are some players that want more combat and more kind of like arena type scenes, and then there are other players that want kind of the more linear, just moving as fast as you can in a straight line, picking up as much speed as possible. Personally, I think Blood Thief should have both of these things because it keeps things interesting, but the downside of that is not every level is going to be a 10 out of 10 for every player. I think this is a good spot to just talk about getting and interpreting feedback in general, which has been a really interesting and enlightening experience for me. I'll start by saying that my ego has slowly yet definitively been beaten to submission over the course of getting feedback on this game from literally hundreds of playtesters over the course of this 2-year process. But in getting all this feedback, I basically learned 2 valuable lessons. Feedback is most valuable if 1, you can compare it to earlier feedback, or 2, you have gameplay footage or analytics to go along with it. Starting with 1, I'm going to show off this feedback form I've been using for the demo. As it stands right now, 94.6% of people say the game is kind of fun or better. 34.7% of people are in this purple region, which is saying the game is freaking incredible. I'd pay $20 for the full version of this with more levels. So at face value, I'm really happy with this number. It's definitely really encouraging. The 94% number lines up somewhat closely to my demo reviews on Steam, so there seems to be some predictive power there. But when you really think about it, what does it really mean? I mean, 1, are they really serious? Would the feedback still be positive if they paid real money for the game? And 2, there's definitely a reasonable amount of self-selection bias going on here. I mean, you have to ask yourself what kind of person decides to fill out a survey. It's probably a player that is having really strong feelings about the game. And 3, the wording of this question and the available answers are a little bit sketchy at best. I do think there's a little bit of answer leading going on here. So with all that in mind, what have we really learned here? Honestly, I'd say not much. But what if I told you I've been using this exact same survey since I released the original Blood Thief playtest back in 2023? And if we look at that pie chart, back then, the number of people that gave it that super high rating was only 10%. Now that's useful. I can see that things are getting better. And so if I could do it over, I'd probably reword this question substantially, but I'm not doing it now because I just want to be able to keep that nice comparison point with the past. And what about qualitative feedback? Like one person saying that they don't like some part of a level. In isolation, I don't think this means that part of the level is bad, since someone else might love that part. It does mean there's room for improvement though. And if I keep that playtester around and ask them to play the level again, well, we can see if the next feedback is better. So I said I learned 2 things about getting feedback. The other is to try to get footage from playtesters where possible. Usually when someone gives feedback, if they also recorded their gameplay, it's super obvious to tell what went wrong. Oh, they completely missed this very important detail. Oh, they're getting stuck on this wall right here. Oh, this part was not meant to be as hard as it is. Are they having the intended experience and just not enjoying it? Or are they just not having the intended experience at all? This, I'm fine with. Again, can't make a game for everyone. But this is where I try to fix stuff. Let's go back to this room that I was talking about earlier one more time. The one where I moved this little platform down by 1 unit. This wasn't just some random change. This change came about because multiple playtesters said they hated that final room. I had a few pieces of gameplay footage I could consult to take a look at what was happening, and I could see, oh, they're all trying to shortcut up this ledge right here, and they're smacking their face against it. That's not fun. Let's just move it down a bit. And so much better. This kind of thing happens all the time, and it's why asking playtesters to record is so important. Because if I just play through the level myself, I miss the stuff that first-time players are running into because I know my game too well. So I want to be very clear about something. The goal that I've had with playtesting isn't to make every playtester happy, because the That's just not gonna happen. Plus, it's important to keep my own vision for the game at the forefront and not get bogged down in some sort of design by committee situation. That's definitely the risk I think I'm running by doing a bunch of playtesting, so I'm always trying to keep it top of mind that one of the core appeals of indie games is a cohesive, singular vision and to never let that get compromised. And as a people pleaser to my core, this has been a tough pill to swallow. Let me tell you a story. When the demo launched, things were going great. Tons of new players coming in, getting really excited about the game. In the last devlog, I talked a lot about out-of-bounds speedrunning routes, and there are just so many of these in Blood Thief. And what started to happen was that two distinct speedrunner camps started to form. Inbounds runners and out-of-bounds runners. And the inbounds runners were kind of getting the short end of the stick because they might have a super cool, super impressive inbounds run, but their runs are showing super far down on the leaderboard because they're getting beaten out by people that were going out of bounds. So I tried to solve the problem. My idea was to split the leaderboard into inbounds and out-of-bounds. By default, you'd only see the inbounds leaderboard, and you'd see the out-of-bounds leaderboard if you went out of bounds. I painstakingly added boundaries to all the existing levels, and if you hit one of these boundaries during your run, then your score will get submitted to the out-of-bounds leaderboard. This solution seemed perfect. This way, everyone is happy. The out-of-bounds people are still celebrated for their ingenuity and creativity in their leaderboard, and the inbounds folks who just want to master the routes the game was designed for you to take, they have their own leaderboard where they're just competing with each other. But problems arose when I realized that boundaries are not, in fact, black and white. For just about every level, someone always was upset about the boundaries that I created. I'd then try to tweak the boundaries, and a new set of people would become upset. It quickly became this toil that A, took me away from developing the core game, and B, nobody really liked anyway. So I ended up just completely scrapping the feature and announcing it to the Discord, and literally no one cared, which is pretty much everything I needed to see to know I was making the right decision. Moral of the story, don't try to make everyone happy, because it's just not gonna happen. Alrighty, on to the next challenge. I have no control. I used to have one dad, the man that raised me. I love that man very much. Now I have 4 dads, and 3 of them are controlling as hell. Let's talk about dad number 1, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. I can just be having a good old time on my computer, and Jensen Huang will just barge into my room and say, "Get to work, son. I just dropped a freaking driver update, and your game is broken now. Fix it, and clean your room too." That actually happened. NVIDIA dropped a driver update that literally bricked Blood Thief for a sizable portion of players. Luckily, there was a workaround. It seemed to work for players to just close every other application running on their PC, including background apps, and that seemed to fix the issue. But isn't that just a scary way to live, knowing that that can just happen? Alright, and what about my other 2 dads? I swear I'll be good forever. Please keep gracing me with your algorithmic glory, and I will do my absolute best to be a good little boy. Alright, but in all seriousness, if I'm gonna keep making games for the foreseeable future, Blood Thief needs to make some money. And it can be pretty hard basically giving up all control and putting your faith in a few companies that literally don't know who you are and definitely don't care about you at all. For every topic up to this point, I had a solution. But this one, I can't really say I do. I think it's just the unfortunate reality that the gaming industry is really, really hard, especially for indies, which sucks because indie games have given me some of my all-time favorite moments of my entire life. Plus, in spite of all the challenges, I freaking love getting to make games and I want to keep doing it forever. And that brings me to the final point of this video. It's Steam Next Fest, probably the biggest indie gaming event of the year, at least for me. And Blood Thief is in it. So go find that new secret level dropping today and let me know what you think. And if you're into speedrunning, hop into the Discord, because starting right now, I'm kicking off the biggest speedrunning competition yet with the biggest prize pool I've ever done. So that should be fun. So in conclusion, going on this journey as a first-time indie dev has been incredibly challenging, but I've also learned so much from all this, and I wouldn't trade any of these experiences for anything. I know I'm just one guy, and not everyone has the same experience with all this, but my only hope is that someone out there is watching this and maybe got something out of it. Alright, that's all I have for this video. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've made an Elden Ring Dissected. I'm sure I'll get back to it eventually, but I've got a bit of a different kind of video for you today. We're going to examine and debunk some claims about AI being used in the creation of Elden Ring concept art. We'll go over a couple examples, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not interested in thoroughly debunking all of them. Someone messaged me on Reddit to try and share their sort of conspiracy theory about how the Elden Ring art book is a scam. They assert that a lot of the concept art was made after the game came out, because they believe it wasn't really concept art and that we're essentially being defrauded. That they lazily threw a bunch of stuff together after the fact to justify selling the latest art book. But before we even get started, I should make a couple things clear. Even if it came out that AI was used somewhere in the pipeline or for certain images, that's sort of besides the point, as the allegations I want to address really aren't about AI at the end of the day. It's about how an anti-AI bandwagon is used as a jumping off point for some people to be really hostile and condescending to artists who aren't even using AI in the first place. If you're wondering where I stand on all of this, I don't think Midjourney should be legal. I think that any generative AI that is trained on artwork without the permission of the original artists should be regulated out of existence. I'd hope I shouldn't have to clarify that, but since I'm going to be criticizing a mindset that seems to be like a really ill-conceived offshoot of hating AI, I nonetheless feel compelled to explain that none of this is coming from a place of wanting to defend it. So, about this whole Elden Ring thing. The person who shared it with me hoping I'd listen to them tried posting it to at least a couple different subreddits, and pretty much everyone was shooting down their claims. If this is just one person whose opinion isn't gaining any traction, what's the point in even responding? Well, I'm not responding because I think the art book needs anyone defending it, or that this one person needs to be proven wrong. I'm doing this because I'd like to use my platform to call something out that I see as being part of a bigger issue in the current discourse about creating art. I was already ready to rant about this because of some of the discussion surrounding the Ghibli AI garbage. We'll get to that later, but the person trying to accuse From Software of creating fake concept art was making a lot of the same mistakes I've seen people make elsewhere. And being a Souls content creator, someone dropping into my DMs unprovoked to say nasty things about the Elden Ring concept art gave me the assurance that a lot of the thoughts I've already had on my mind lately will have a good home on my channel. So, here we go. Here's what that anonymous Redditor had to say. They claim that a lot of the concept art in the Elden Ring art book appears to be fake concept art created by various methods, using screenshots of 3D models and environments, and then clumsily editing those screenshots, having tiled textures edited into perspective using warping tools to save effort in painting them, and possibly using AI to generate parts of images. So here's the glaring problem to start with. These discussions were all framed around whether or not they used AI. It's the main focus of their Imager album title, and it was the main focus of the Reddit thread title, but AI only got an "and possibly" at the end of their list. This is because what they're mad at actually has nothing to do with AI. But I am interrupting, let me allow them to continue. They also say that the concept art is a lie, and that it literally isn't concept art. I presume the reason for this is that they didn't plan things properly and were probably constantly adjusting environments during development, so they weren't actually using concept art as reference. Then, when they were done making the environments, they decided to use the already made areas as reference to make fake concept art for the art book. They also go on to say, the editing of this fake concept art is so slapdash and unprofessional that is frankly embarrassing. It's shocking it hasn't been called out before when it's this bad. They're selling it for money, and the people buying it are essentially being defrauded. The following images will be some of the more egregious examples of shitty editing, fakery, and possible AI-generated images. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, because like I said, I just don't see the point in doing that, but this all basically boils down to someone not understanding what concept art is, and then being hugely disrespectful to the artists involved. Let's take a look at the concept art for the 4 belfries. This is what they had to say about it. Behold, the finest foliage ever created in MS Paint. They charged money for this, LOL. No idea what's happening with the transparency on the bottom of the belfries. They copy-pasted a single belfry several times, using some kind of skew tool to try and fake perspective. It doesn't hold up. They didn't even cut out the space behind the bells. Okay, so this is what we call anomaly hunting. I'll have more to say about what exactly that is and how it works in the broader context of conspiracy theories in general in a moment, but it's pretty self-evident here. This person already has a narrative that the people who made this are lazy grifters. They're starting with the conclusion that something is wrong here, and anything that they think looks suspicious is going to serve as validation to them. And they're never going to stop to think critically about why there's actually a perfectly logical explanation for everything they see. The elephant in the room here is that this is concept art. Yes, sometimes concept art goes hard and is absolutely gorgeous. Maybe the artist was allotted more time and effort because there's an understanding that some of the concept art will be tapped for promotional materials later on. Or perhaps an artist was entrusted to make something extremely detailed so that the people making the 3D models and textures later on don't have to do too much interpreting of their own. But it should go without saying, this is not how all concept art works. Not even remotely. What concept art needs to be is entirely dependent on the context. Sometimes you just need a simple concept conveyed. And what that was here was clearly a rough pitch for how the 4 belfries were going to be laid out on top of a hill, and what the general shape of the path leading to it might look like. Why do we wind up with these copy and pasted belfries? Because one was clearly drawn on its own beforehand, and then that asset was tapped for reuse in this more distant view. Why is there this rough transparency here? Maybe because the goal was trying to convey a concept, and the artist wasn't overly concerned with covering their tracks on how the image was put together. What this person doesn't seem to understand is that the artist who made this would actually be a bad employee if they didn't do what was asked of them and spent more time on this than they needed to. Concept art comes in all shapes and sizes, and this is what a rough sketch simply looks like in concept art. Sometimes you're mashing existing assets into something else, so things are going to be cobbled together. It wasn't remotely lazy of the artist to do it this way, because they weren't trying to make a higher quality piece of artwork that stands on its own to begin with. They were doing their job, and they were doing it correctly. This should all be extremely obvious, but the nature of these complaints get at the heart of the underlying issue. Claims of AI use were not even made for this particular image. They made fun of the artwork comparing it to MS Paint, and thought it was funny that people were charged to see stuff like this in an art book. When I pressed them on this, they said, "I don't think that the belfry image serves the purpose of concept art because it's basic to the point of being useless. What would be the point of using those childish scribbles as references for the 3D level artists?" So, any 3D level artists want to chime in? Is all of the concept art you get extremely detailed, so you always have a solid blueprint with clear dimensions to follow? Or is it perfectly normal to get rough concepts sometimes to help turn something like this into this? Feel free to sound off in the comments below, but we all know the answer to that already. Of course this is perfectly functional and respectable concept art, yet this person describes it as childish and derides it as an MS Paint creation. The mask is off here. If anyone wants to pretend that they're against AI because it steals artwork and it's lazy and it's disrespectful to artists, but they disparage the work of actual artists and question all of the non-AI techniques they use, they are absolutely 100% not an ally to artists, and they certainly don't care about the work they do. Of course, everything they say is colored by refusing to understand what concept art is on a fundamental level, but allow me to back up for a second to talk about anomaly hunting. Anomaly hunting is what lies at the heart of every conspiracy theory that relies on scrutinizing something, often pictures or video, to manufacture evidence for your dubious claims. People will look at video of the Twin Towers collapsing and see debris shooting out of the building as each floor collapses. They'll think this is proof that it was a controlled demolition, refusing to entertain the reasoning of smarter individuals who point out that that's just the result of the floors falling on top of each other, or how that's not what a controlled demolition even looks like, or any other myriad of things. These are people who want to believe something is wrong. They already have a set narrative. They are not looking at the evidence in earnest, and they are, instead, ultimately deceiving themselves through confirmation bias. Here we have an anomaly in the form of a rough transparency, but any reasonable person knows why it's there. Yet to this person, it's evidence that the area was designed in-game first, and that this image was made after the game came out in order to help sell the art book. An incredibly wild conclusion. Oh, and also the quality of the artwork was childish too, apparently. Cool stuff. I don't think I need to belabor the point too much here, but I do want to quickly get through just a couple more examples of theirs before moving on to the bigger picture. They really didn't like this one either. They complain that the statues are 2D images that are haphazardly rotated and posted around. They think it's possible evidence of AI art, which it's really not. AI doesn't manually copy and paste a bunch of whole assets like this around, but I don't think I need to get into that. They admitted that it could have been done by a human, but that would mean that they're incompetent. Once again saying disparaging things about human artists doing their job competently and correctly. Is this even an area in the game is an incredibly funny thing to remark, too. I thought the narrative is that they were lazily throwing things together based on places that already exist in-game. Wouldn't that be a lot more effort to make this, then? Not that it would be suspicious to have concept art for an unused area, and never mind the fact that most Elden Ring players probably immediately recognized where this was, because it is in-game. But anomaly hunting has led this person down a road of being distrustful of everything they see in incredibly naive and inconsistent ways. Here's one where they probably think they have some ironclad proof that there's fake concept art made after the game came out. Because look at what we have here. We clearly have a modified in-game screenshot, so this is proof that they had to have made the game first, and so they're clearly lying to us. Except, not. All that's proof of is that this is a later concept that was made much further into development. Why would they make concept art this way? I don't know, man. I'm not a game dev, but thinking about it for even just a brief moment raises a few possibilities. The one that makes the most sense to me is late-stage refinement. The overworld of Elden Ring was made with the assistance of procedural generation. Not every rock or tree or bush or incline of a hill was placed or handcrafted by the developers. But to prevent the overworld from just being a bunch of random meaningless nonsense, this means that artists would be tasked with reviewing various environments and coming up with suggestions for more bespoke set pieces. That, or the people making the art book slipped up and thought we would be too stupid to recognize that a screenshot is an early stage concept art, and you found secret evidence of some conspiracy that only you are smart enough to recognize. I know which answer I'm going with. Now, here's the thing. Do I have an explanation for everything this person calls out in every image? No. I'm not an artist. There's a few images that sometimes have some really weirdly messy stuff in there, and without a broader context, I might think it's AI as well. Given the timeline of Elden Ring's development, do I think it's much more likely that this is a bunch of photo-bashed assets that are sloppily blended due to the sketchy nature of concept art? Yes. But would it change anything I've said in this video so far if AI was used in a few of these images? Absolutely not. You would be able to criticize that if you wanted to, but the central problem here was never AI. It was always just looking for any reason to throw the artists under the bus, including cases where AI obviously wasn't used as well. If there is any AI in here, this person didn't do themselves any favors by throwing out a huge list of unrelated grievances we have to ignore, and by being incredibly dismissive and condescending to the artists. A bit of AI showing up wouldn't validate this person, because they still called this childish and didn't understand its purpose. They still called whoever made this incompetent and didn't understand its purpose. They still called this shoddy and didn't understand its purpose. This is someone who doesn't respect artists or the creative process. These specific kinds of complaints are indefensible, and that's what I'm talking about. I let this person know that if they want to be taken seriously, that they need to learn to make serious complaints, and not, complain that the scabbard here looks like, according to them, a big dildo. This is all obvious nonsense, so let's move on. How about that Ghibli AI crap? If you've been fortunate enough to not be terminally online, or at least you've managed to stay away from Twitter, Instagram, and certain parts of Reddit, you might be hearing about this for the first time now. If that's the case, generative AI tools have made another incremental, but not insignificant step in being able to imitate the styles of certain studios and artists. At the center of this discussion is how it's been used to copy the style of Studio Ghibli. It's been everywhere. It sucks, and there was also a particularly incendiary use by the White House Twitter account using it to mock a drug dealer being arrested and deported. Yes, really addressing systemic issues regarding drug addiction by stopping one person. Time to do a victory lap. Anyways, I shouldn't have to clarify my thoughts on this. Of course I'm not cool with using AI tools in this way. But I dropped into a conversation with something that I really didn't think was a hot take, but it got some surprising and, in my opinion, very misguided backlash. To give context for this, there's a video from 8 years ago called Hayao Miyazaki's Thoughts on an Artificial Intelligence. This one particular upload got over 1 million views, but really it got a lot more than that being clipped to Twitter and around the internet back in the day. In it, he was presented a demo that involved AI, but his response to the people presenting it is that he was utterly disgusted and thought it was an insult to life itself. Pretty sick burn on AI, right? So of course a lot of people were talking about this when referencing the recent Ghibli AI nonsense, and I don't think they were inherently wrong to do so. Given how strongly he felt about this, it's not like the quote is irrelevant. However, in its original context, it's much less flattering to Miyazaki because this wasn't about the same kind of AI being talked about today. He was basically just being needlessly cruel to people presenting a physics sim for models with ragdoll physics, where if a creature had an odd shape, or perhaps something was possessing and controlling its movements in such a way where it didn't understand how to use its anatomy correctly, machine learning could be used to create different ways for these models to navigate their environment. It was really just a tool for simulating movement in a 3D environment. Now, watch how he brings this guy to tears over it.
毎朝この頃会わないけど身体障害の友人がいるんですよ。そのハイタッチするんだけど大変なんです。彼の筋肉がこわばってる手と僕の手でこうハイタッチする。でその彼のことを思い出してね、僕はこれ面白いと思って見ることできないんですよ。これを作る人たちは痛みとかそういうものについてね、何も考えないでやってるでしょ。極めて不愉快ですよね。そんなに気持ち悪いものをやりたいなら勝手にやってればいいだけで、僕はこれを自分たちの仕事をつなげたいとは全然思いません。極めて何か生命に対する侮辱を感じます。これでもほ
Now, I'm not overly concerned with litigating Miyazaki's response. I have my take on it. I think it was extremely callous, and also very short-sighted because virtually every other animator on the planet would immediately understand its potential use cases. But unfortunately, they have to deal with an extremely talented artist who probably just has a massive ego and a short temper. And also, acting like others don't understand pain, and being offended on behalf of a disabled friend, like as if you're the only person who cares about others, is hollow nonsense. To be generous to the people wanting to side with Miyazaki, though, I'm happy to concede that there could be some context that was lost in the edit. When they were asked what their goal was, someone else mentioned wanting to be able to build a machine that can draw pictures like humans do. Was this team at the forefront of generative AI? Was the brief of the meeting that these people plan to replace all the work that humans do with computers and AI and all of that fancy stuff? If so, maybe they deserve to be mocked and kicked out of there. But that doesn't do a lot to change the context of his immediate response. He wasn't referring to generative AI as an insult to life itself. He was referring to using software to make a zombie crawl around as an insult to life. Which is still pretty absurd, no matter how you slice it. If you're thinking, oh, but this is his craft, of course he's allowed to have strong opinions on it, it's not like Studio Ghibli hasn't made weird corrupted creatures before. And it's not like they haven't used computers in doing so. CGI was used here.
The tendrils that wrap themselves around Ashitaka's arm as he fires off an arrow were also made using CGI. Utilizing the software developed with the help of Microsoft, Ghibli was able to input specific data relating to perspective, shading, and movement.
None of this is inherently disrespectful to life. What matters is the narrative. And that narrative obviously isn't going to be present in a short tech demo. I can't see this as anything other than old man yells at clouds nonsense, and I have a hard time seeing eye to eye with people who side with Miyazaki on this. But all of that being said, none of that really matters, because I take issue with some of the responses I got when bringing this up. There was a crew of people who all seemed to be on the same page, thinking that an animator referencing something like this would be bad, or would make them less professional, or that even using computers in apparently any capacity for reference is undesirable. Someone asked, why were they showing this to a great artist and not to scientists? I wonder what biologists and physiognomists would have to say about it. Would they be any more impressed or grateful for having this tool? I replied with, because this wouldn't help with the advancement of science, but it could help animators at Studio Ghibli with creating reference materials. And then they responded with, for what? Why wouldn't life itself be enough? In the context of this conversation, I can assure you that this wasn't being asked with an open mind. It was born out of distrust of the usefulness of a tool like this, explaining the air quotes. They had the opinion that an animator should be photographing their own reference materials instead of using a computer. Someone else dropped in with their interesting take. They said, turns out you don't need AI to figure that out. You just need Gary's Mod and an 11-year-old who's bored. Now, go pick up a pencil and create something actually worthwhile. I should have exited the conversation at this point, since this one person turned out to be a weird troll, but nonetheless I replied in earnest. I asked, how would this obviate picking up a pencil? I'm not defending generative AI. Using a physics sim for reference is fine. It's fine if an 11-year-old does it with Gary's Mod, it's fine if an adult does it with their own in-house software. I feel like I need to explain the concept of reference material. They responded with, if only there was a way to make reference material before the invention of the computer, or a way to capture physical images to use at a later time to reference. And they snarkily included a couple images of things that obviously exist. So now we've reached a point where people are saying that someone using computers makes them a bad artist. Or at least according to these people, it's not something a professional artist would do. I feel like it'd be really easy to take this clip about the making of Klaus out of context to get these people to be very judgmental about it, because the real art understanders have logged on, and they would be perfectly happy to besmirch the work of talented animators because computers, and even quote-unquote AI, was used to help with the lighting. How unprofessional of them.
With 3D CGI, light is added automatically to objects, but it's trickier with 2D.
But with lines, with drawings, the computer needs a certain level of AI to even understand that this line corresponds to this line, and this hand is also this hand.
I'm sorry, but if it makes sense to you to be a weird gatekeeper about using these kinds of techniques, that's pretty dumb and you've completely lost the plot here. There's a form of anti-AI brain rot that has completely looped back around to just hating any technique or toolset an artist might use, stuff that isn't generative AI. Just as someone thinks the techniques used to make this concept art were worthy of derision, an animator should be limiting their reference tools to this because reasons? Anyways, if we want to ignore that person for doubling down on being a troll, seriously, they got really weird with it, I got other responses that appeared to be in good faith, but were displaying similarly painful levels of not getting it. I can guarantee you that professional artists at that level are making their own references, instead of lazily relying on a program to do it for them. Chat, is making your own 3D character models, rigging them, and modeling a 3D environment for them to move around in, and then tweaking the parameters until you get what you want, and then using that output as reference for what's likely to only be a few specific scenes, while also probably referencing all kinds of other traditional reference materials for your otherwise 2D hand-drawn animation, lazy? Is this something professional artists would avoid? When I pressed them on this, they said, nowhere did I mention creating software. I'm talking about relying on software that already exists, when an artist can just take a camera and use it themselves to make their own reference. I just don't get this. Who makes the software is a really silly point of contention. Maybe I misunderstood the original pitch. It was a different company presenting it when I referred to it as prospective in-house software, but regardless if it was going to be developed into a tool to be licensed to Ghibli, or further developed and owned by Ghibli themselves, why would that even matter? They collaborated with Microsoft in the past to help develop software to integrate CGI into Princess Mononoke, for example. Are you going to tell Miyazaki to pick up a pencil? What even is the point in all of this? I don't get this weird purity test that people who ostensibly care about how art is made have come up with. Anyways, it was also very clear that a lot of these people weren't watching the video and refused to entertain the original context. Someone interjected with this "whatever you're talking about" bit, but it was extremely obvious what I was talking about. I was talking about the thing that Miyazaki was talking about, in response to the video being linked above. The thing this whole conversation was about. So it was clear that people had already made up their minds beforehand without even knowing the context. Similar to the Elden Ring conspiracy theorist, they were starting from a conclusion without wanting to think about it further. AI bad, therefore everything Miyazaki said must be valid. But the unfortunate downstream effect of this is weird mental gymnastics on why someone shouldn't be using a computer at all, or why an animator should apparently photograph their own reference materials. Asking loaded questions like, why isn't life enough? Because they've worked themselves into having some really absurd opinions about what artists should or shouldn't use. I don't know if it feels strange to some viewers that I made a video about this. I get that making a video about my brief interactions with just 5 specific people has strong "someone was wrong on the internet" vibes, and I totally get that there's just one person making these claims about the Elden Ring concept art, and virtually everyone already disagrees with them, but I do think this is part of a much bigger problem. Artists are constantly harassed over false allegations of using AI. This is happening in pretty much every large enough community that makes art, and I'm sure people in the comments here could probably let us know about all sorts of nasty stuff that has happened in their communities as a result. And while false, direct allegations of AI use are somewhat tangential here, it's all part of the same wider issue. People think they are righteous for hating generative AI, something I understand and sympathize with, but it's caused a subset of people to be incredibly stupid about it. In their confused frustrations, they're also now very dismissive and gatekeepery about work that actual artists do, ones who aren't using generative AI. And some of the people from that Ghibli conversation might not be too pleased to see their responses highlighted alongside the Elden Ring conspiracy theorist, assuming they ever see this video. They weren't alleging anything as absurd. I think even they would understand that what that person was saying was wrong. But I don't think I'm off base in bringing them up together, because there's a similarity in not thinking critically about the creative process and having extremely close-minded opinions about the tools and techniques available to artists. The Elden Ring person refused to understand reasonable techniques for making concept art, and the Ghibli responders refuse to understand what reasonable reference materials are. While I'm talking about all of this, I think this video deserves a brief addendum to address what might be an elephant in the room for some viewers. Some of you might be thinking, wait a second, Illusory, didn't you make a couple AI Dark Souls videos? I did, and I'm not exactly ashamed of them. I'm happy to link them in the video description here. Feel free to judge these videos if you like, I'm not shut off to criticism. Maybe there was something unethical in their creation I overlooked, but they are almost 4 years old now, and more on that in a second. For now I don't have any plans to delete them, but I did unlist them months ago.
do you mean loading? I didn't press anything. Okay, can you change the filter? Because I hate this. I hate these filters. Oh no, I'll be late for work. I should be on my car by now. Options. Graphics. SSR. VHS filter, go away. Oh, thank God. I love that they give you an option for that. Alright, cool. Any FOV here? Let's go. Wait, texture quality? What the fuck? 100. V-Sync? I guess? I don't know. Hard and soft? Yep. SSR? Shit, I don't know, man. I don't know anything. Yeah, we're good? Alright. Always gotta get to work. Ah. Oh, how I miss this. Leave apartment. No, wait. You move so fast. What's this? Oh, you can hide in here. Oh, games where you can see your body is a good sign, man. Yo, Knack has 63, man. Alright, no. This is giga cozy. Oh my God. That is super cozy. I could definitely live in something like this. Where's the bathroom? Oh, here. Oh, this is super cozy. I gotta lower the sensitivity. Hold up. A little bit. There we go. Nice. Dude, I would have like... where would I stream? I don't know. Probably... £2,500 apartment in London. That's true. That's true. Maybe I'd have like one of those bed couches, you know? And then I'd stream up there. That'd be sick. Oh, I just realized I'm not doing Elden Ring, dude. Horror is back on the menu. I just realized I probably need to change my background on my monitors because this background is really yellow and bright, so it looks like I'm very bright here, which might be good. Alright. Hold up. It's a bit too bright for horror games, man. I don't... Where is my Mass Effect picture? Shit. Oh no. Surely I still have that one somewhere. Fuck it. There we go.
Hey, you.
I put Troll Despair as my background. All right, let's go. Someone's phone. Sure is windy outside.
And bang, up the butt.
Yo, Jamin 25, Dami 58 at Izix, thanks for the 15.
Hey,
no need to go through here right now. Alright, we gotta get to work. Oh? That's me scrolling. Nordstrom, thanks for the 2 years, I mean. Thank you, dude. Do you have a flashlight in this game? Okay, I think I'm gonna up the brightness. There's like a fucking dude standing here and I... Excuse me. Excuse me. Are you looking for some? Well, I found this. Gimme me it. my car. Go to work. Oh, this is so mega cozy, dude. I love this. Doggy. Wait, are these backers of the game or something? Oh. Oh, okay. Huh. Kind of fun to look at these. Helsing game? Hmm. Alright. This is where we work. Chillis Coffee. Cacao. Alright, cool. Alright, sweet. Hello. Okay. Put away my stuff and talk to Senpai. Okay. Oh, this is Senpai. Sorry I'm late. Funahashi Senpai. Oh. Be careful next time. I'm gonna tell the manager. Yo, this neck posture, by the way. Holy shit. I'm very sorry. I'll be careful. But being careful is not enough. Tell me you won't be late. Do you understand? Yes, sir. I will not be late again. You also messed up some orders, don't you? If you have any trouble with the order, there's some tutorial videos for you, so look through it. Okay, I'll take a look. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure to leave your phone in the locker. You better not be texting anyone during work. Yes, sir. Cool. Alright. Oh, these are tutorial videos? Cold drink. Okay. Fucking how hard can it be, dude? Just... Fucking hell, this is advanced. Bro, maybe 4 years. Thank you, Schnoodery 3. Thank you. And Red Out, thanks 8. Sorry, I have a little pause at the moment. Is that a bag? Okay. Oh, this seems easy. Food is like the easiest thing. That's it? Okay, that's free. Can I put away my stuff? Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Wait, what? Senpai? I'm ready for customers. Yo! I'm gonna lower the brightness again. Better. What do you want? Did you say Chillest Coffee? I've never been to one of these fancy places before. I feel uneasy. There's something strange about this place. My daughter seems to be a fan of this place, and now I'm here, however. I'll leave the drinks to you. Oh, and I'd like to get 2 of them. Would you want a latte and a coffee? Oh, that'll be just fine. It's really uncomfortable here. However, can you charge such a price for someone like this? Order stick. Place order item. I think I put those like... Okay, coffee. Here. Wait, soy milk or regular? Blender. Mitch Pilkers. Fuck, I need to check this tutorial again, dude. I don't know what I'm doing. Hold up. Coffee and steamed milk. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out steamed milk, dude. It's obviously here. How do I put the milk in? Milk? Did I do it? Here. Soy milk doesn't work here. What? Hello, Sores. Oh, there's lids. Yeah, there they are. Okay. Ready to serve. Here. Oh, yeah, you need 2. You want 2. I got this. I got this. I got this. I have steamed milk here. Yes. Hold up. Let me just put a hot cup thing here. There you go. It's oh, what? Oh, wait. Oh, fuck. Oh, what? I didn't know there was an inventory. Oh, shit. This is latte, I think. And you want regular coffee, yeah? I got this, I got this. What? I can grab that. Grab this. What? Oh, you have to... Okay, inventory. Here. That's coffee. There you go. Easy. Where's the payment? Hello? Pay? How do I drop shit? Well, finished my first customer, I guess. That's cool. Did you hear in the news? I hear stalker cases are on the rise. It's scary. A woman like me, see, I have to be careful. All the guys were always staring at me, so you be careful too. Well, you don't have to worry as much as I do, but you should watch out either way. A dark mocha chip chilapuccino, please. Yes, coming right up, I think. Blended ice plus coffee plus milk plus chocolate sauce plus cocoa powder? Plus L? Holy fuck, Yeah, she said dark. Does she not mean the chocolate one? Maybe she means one without milk or something. I don't know. I'm just gonna make a goddamn coffee, man. How do I drop items? I have like a million items. Soy milk, milk pitcher. Trash bin. Oh. Ah, nice. Oh god. I glitched out my game. I glitched. Whoops. Restart this. Oh, I can press continue. Come on, game capture, let's go.
Another victim.
Any game capture here? Oh, I just stopped working that one too. That's cool. There you go. Thank you. Let's remove this filter again because it's weird.
Hey, you.
Thank you. Alright, here we go. Again. Alright, talk to senpai, yada yada. I know how to do shit. There we go. Boom, 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 boom,
Hey,
boom, boom,
you.
boom, 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 boom. Thank you, Loops. That's an honor, dude. Thank you. Alright, here we go. My sensitivity's back up again for some reason. Zoop.
Hey, you.
Okay, I'm ready. I know he wants coffee now, so... Kaffe? That's a kaffe? Oi. This is kaffe. There you go. And you want the latte, yeah? Alright. Coming right up, dude. Good. Alright, cool. Here is latte. There you go. Thank you, sir. Okay, I think she wants a chocolate chip chilla. I don't know, she said a dark one, so I'm guessing it is that one. I blend ice. Oh. I mean, what? I blend. Oh fuck! Not again. Oh god. Oh sorry. Let's see. Give me the order, and this is a chocolate chip chilapuccino. Yes. For chocolate chip chilapuccino, we need blended ice, coffee and milk. Let's do coffee and milk first. Is that frothed milk or just regular milk, I guess? Okay, we have kaffe. And then we have milk. Coffee, milk. Chocolate sauce. Is it in? Okay, I'm guessing this is in now. And then I need to blend the ice. But why does it blend? I haven't put the ice in, dude. And I can't, if I put the ice in the thing. Maybe... Oh, it says what it's saying. Coffee, milk, chocolate sauce. Oh, I have too much chocolate sauce. Oh, fuck. Okay, good. We're good. I'm gonna kill this dispenser, because... Alright, here we go. Now, this one has coffee, milk, coffee, chocolate, milk. Yeah. Cold cup? Wait, is this a cold cup? Oh, fuck. Ah, trash.
Hey, you.
Okay, how the hell do we blend the ice? I gotta watch the video. Sorry, hold up. Yes, kaffe, mjölk. Yes. Oh, you place it on. God damn it. Ah. Coffee, milk, chocolate sauce, blended ice. I think I'm good, right? That was it. Blended ice, coffee, milk, chocolate sauce, cocoa powder. Cocoa powder. Cocoa powder. That's not here, is it? Cocoa powder. Cocoa powder? Oh shit, here. Hey, I did it, I think. Yes. Okay, you need a lid on this. There you go. Cool. Alright, now I know. I'm getting into it, man. Moopsie, can I order a coffee too? So I want the 30 vanilla sweet ice cream cold brew with 2 pumps of vanilla, 3 pumps of caramel syrup, 2 pumps of cinnamon dulce syrup, 2 pumps of hazelnut, 2 pumps of toffee nut syrup, 2 pumps of mocha, 2 pumps of white mocha, 2 pumps of pumpkin sauce, 3 pumps of maple pecan syrup, and 5 shots of espresso. Holy shit! Kenta, a matcha cake, please? Stop pushing me. A salted caramel mocha. Then I'll have a matcha chilappuccino. You always can't finish a drink, so let's share, man. Sure, let's do that. 1 pumpkin cake. I think I'll have something to eat too. You can order first. I'll have hot cocoa. Hot cocoa? Are you serious? I don't have any money right now. You should have said that first. Come on, I'll buy you one. What do you want to drink? Yes, but... just say it. He's got money. No, it's not like that, but really, anything's fine. Really, I want a white mocha. Oh, okay, any food? No, just a drink. Oh, come on, let's order some food. But, okay, American waffles. Waffles. Oh, thanks, both of you. Hey, what you looking at? Did you hear that noise? Noise? What noise? I didn't hear it either. It's probably nothing. It must be your imagination. It happens from time to time. Sis, I made up my mind. An apple pie. Will that be all? Yes, that's all.
Slowest barista in Sweden, Sverige.
Wow. Can't believe you remembered all that. We'll be waiting. Pumpkin cake. Oh yeah, I need to bag it. Shit, right. This is pumpkin cake.
Another victim.
Matcha chilapuccino. Okay. Blended ice milk, matcha powder, whipped cream. Mmm, that sounds good. Alright. I got this, I got this. Blended ice, whipped cream. Start with the whipped cream. Whatever, dude. Matcha. Ice. Whipped cream, matcha powder, blended ice. Milk. Milk. It's just milk. I did it! This is matcha chilapuccino. There you go. Next. Matcha chiffon cake. The fuck? Matcha chiffon cake. White mocha. Coffee, steamed milk, white chocolate sauce. Coffee, steamed milk, white chocolate sauce. Coming right up. There you go. Sharari, thanks for the sub, dude. Thank you. Alright, salted caramel mocha. Alright. Salted.
I'm not usually a coffee kind of guy, but I really enjoy a half oat milk, half almond milk cappuccino.
Oh, the more you know. Thank you, man. Thank you. Coffee, steamed milk, caramel syrup, hazelnut syrup, chocolate sauce.
Hey, you.
Okay, coffee and steamed milk. Alright, I got this. Coffee, steamed milk, caramel syrup, hazelnut syrup, and chocolate sauce. Chocolate sauce, caramel syrup, and hazelnut syrup. And then steamed milk. I think that was it. Was there anything else? Nope. Ready to go? There you go, that's all of it, isn't it? Oh, you need. Oh, you want American waffle. American waffle. American waffle. And American apple pie. There you go. Enjoy it, gents. Quantum 42, man. Thank you. I pretty much know how to do all of this now. That's cool. Where's Senpai at? Wait, you again? Here's my order. Oh, wait. Oh. You want a what? A latte? Yo, I got this without looking at the thing. I need mjölk. I need coffee. Coming right up, sir. There you go. Hey, I'm a private investigator. You spot anything suspicious around the area? There have been numerous reports of people getting harassed. I was wondering if you'd seen anything in the store. Call me if something ever happens. Try closing the store early if don't want to get in trouble.
Hey, you.
Wait, sweep the floor. I got this. We are closed. Doggy Drill 13, thank you, thank you. There is some dirt somewhere. There you are. I am gonna lower my volume.
Hey, you.
Sorry, I'm locked there. Thanks for 10 months. Thank you. I can't see shit, by the way. Senpai. Where's the light switch? Senpai? Well, I'm out, I guess. I can't see anything, ma'am. Well, the breaker must be... Hello? Oh, there! Ah. Hello? Spilt milk? Gotta clean this place up, man. The fuck? Where's Senpai? Trash item, yeah. I can't. Guess I'll sweep the floors. Oh yeah, I gotta clean the toilet, right. Yeah. Now what? Doesn't say anything. Maybe there's more spilt milk somewhere. I guess I'll turn the sign now because we're closed. Close, damn it. How do runs go today? It's alright. I practiced a lot. I'll get it soon. I don't know why I can't trash the item. Don't worry, people avoiding spoilers. I won't spoil anything. Can't loot this either. Putting him in the fridge? Oh yeah, maybe. Oh, I'm an idiot. I thought this milk was bad. Okay, there we go. Hello? Weird. Wait, why dot dot dot? Okay. Dina, thanks for the 35. Abinair, thanks for 62.
The evidence is clear here, guys. LR wouldn't last a day on a proper job, Kappa.
I have been a mailman, so I can do anything, alright?
Just got in from work and now I get to watch Work Simulator. Thanks, LR.
No problem, man.
Hey, you.
I did not Pebrock, no.
And bang, up the butt.
How? I'll go to work. Let's go. I'm ready for more customers. Put away my stuff and talk to Senpai, alright. Hey, seriously? You're late again. Did you oversleep? I'm so sorry. No, not. Not, I'm so sorry. I want you to not be late. This is the second time. I'm sorry. A little more enthusiasm would help, don't you think? Why don't you ask your mama to wake you up? Whatever, see if I care. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yo, you good? Here's my order. American scone caramel toffee. Coffee. I got you. There's your coffee. American apple pie. An American waffle. Alright. American apple pie. And Vofla. Oh my god, I'm blind. Oh, you can actually crouch. Vofla. Oh fuck, I don't know which one this is. American waffle. There you go. There you go, sir. Ah. Hey, girl. Thank you very much. Haha. You look impressed. What? Who's talking? Is it... No need to Nihongo yozomi. I've been living here for more than 15 years. Hey, girl. Something's not right about this place. I didn't think that because I'm not around town. Something about this store. Maybe because of that guy over there. Which guy? Huh? Hmm? guess it was just my imagination. Are you haunted by any chance? Well, maybe I am. I don't know who's talking, dude. Oh, fuck! Either way, I'm running late, so I'm gonna have to go. So long. Plus milk. Vanilla jalapeno. Okay. Blended ice, milk, vanilla syrup, vanilla powder. Mjölk. Blended ice. Milk. And then it was... blended ice, milk, vanilla syrup, vanilla powder. I got you. Bro, not this one. There you go. Milk and wait, do you just want milk? Alright, fair enough, I guess. This is milk? And you want another milk, right? And that's milk.